Welcome back to The Flat. We have another trade period special, a bit of an update, and just to go over the things that have happened so far in the period. We've got a big episode. We've got lots of stuff to go through, including Brisbane and Carlton specific trade videos and kind of how they built their list and all of those things. Boys, what is happening? I haven't seen you all week.
Been a long week, to be honest.
Yeah.
Finally got my car back, which is nice.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, been a little bit distracted from content.
Did you end up punching the guy in the face? Or did
No,
it
it
stay
came
pretty-
close. It came close though. Yeah, but oh well, that's what happens when you gate crash a bar mitzvah. Anyway,
Yeah, sorry we're late, guys. Me and Jesse were, no joke, up until midnight watching Paul Medhurst highlights. And I made the argument that Pat Voss is the best. Don't argue the AFL has ever seen with examples.
let it
So
hang,
what
it's fine.
did you guys? Did you guys actually watch Paul Medhurst?
Yeah.
He kicked a bag of 8 against Brisbane in like
9 it
2004.
was.
9
in
sorry,
2004.
What? I just want to know what triggered it.
I think we were...
You gave Druzy the remote. That's all that happened.
No, it was like, think of the most niche... I don't know how we got onto the topic, but it was like, think of the most like weird niche Dockers player or footy player and just get up. No, because I was talking about Scott Thornton for some reason. Who spoke
That's
for
more
Freo.
niche.
That's very niche.
Because Medhurst, I feel, was like a bit, not a star, but he was a bit of a star.
He was
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
gun. I was saying he was like the first player I remember for Freo just like being a jet in the forward line, like him and Jeff Farmer.
Yeah.
And then, we just chucked on him kicking 9 against the 3-peat Brisbane.
I remember back to Paul Medhurst. I don't know if it was like a Dockers thing, but do you remember he used to do this like annoying thing? And this is like showing my age at the time where this annoyed me, but he like would mark the place where he took the mark like really sort of viciously and aggressively. He had this kind of like routine that he went through and he used to annoy me.
Medhurst did that?
Medhurst did that.
Yeah, right. I remember
Yeah.
Chris Main had the like routine.
I
back
think
in
it
the
was a
day.
bit of a Freo thing.
Yeah.
He kicked the sealer of the first ever derby. I saw us lose. I left the room and was almost in tears. But as much as I'd love to stay on this topic, I got a comment from Heath saying, when did the budget go up for the graphic department? I'd say that happened when we met Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And-
poured millions into it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's all happening.
I got to say, on my screen here, I'm looking at Drew's and it looks so crisp. Are you wearing eyeliner? It looks something different about you. We all look very crispy. Did you do something different?
I've been playing with some stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
always, every stream is just a little bit different.
Yeah, I've got a little red like thing on my nose and it's such good quality that you can see it. I feel very exposed right now.
I should have made it a little bit more blotchy.
Jesse
I
does
should've
also
shaved.
have black lines above and below his shot. I don't know if
Yeah, I don't know if that's fixable. Not a big deal if it's not. But it makes me look a little bit more feature filmy, which I like.
I want to go over some of the things that happened during this week. Like probably these are the most like newsworthy topics. I'm not sure if we're going to start on any one of these particular, but Leaker getting dogged by the Saints, I think is probably the story of the week. And just in general, the Saints kind of blowing up the trade period. I don't know if we've seen a club go to the lengths that the Saints have. They're being pretty ruthless. It's interesting to see. North saying
Another
that they
big
want
player.
another huge player in the trade period, but North asking for 2 first rounders for Jai Simpkin, a little facetious there.
Who are they asking for 2 first rounders?
Collingwood. Yeah, the Pies are keen apparently, and they're keen to pay off all of his salary, so North wouldn't have to contribute anything there, but aren't willing to pay the 2 first rounders, which I totally understand from their point of view. Cats are offering 3 future first rounders for Charlie Curnow. The Marshall to Geelong trade appears to be off. So then you've got that kind of thing of can he and TDK exist in the same team? Oliver is likely to GWS, and Brisbane and Adelaide are miles apart on Callum Archie.
Yeah, that one's a little tricky rather to see how it gets done because I think the Crows' first pick is 16. That's what Brisbane want. It does seem a little steep for Archie. I think he's 28. But in a weekend draft, you could make the argument it's close. But I can see why Adelaide don't want to budge on that, but they don't really have much else to give. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to have to be creative, I think, with that one.
It is. It's always those like premiership players that are like bit pieces as well. The value is always really difficult because the club that they came from is always saying like he's a premiership player, you know, a much needed part of the team. So that will be interesting. What did you guys take? Like, the Leaker situation. What did you guys think about that?
How good was that meme? It was like Facebook Marketplace. Like, hey, is this available? Yes. I'll take it. No.
Yeah. I reckon they should have just gone with like red, but like no response.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
This is marketplace.
Saying he got dogged is funny because he might end up being a dog. Because the Dogs need a back.
They do need a key back. I think North Melbourne are sniffing around. Collingwood are sniffing around as well.
Or
St
just
Kilda
say
saved themselves from paying him $800K a year though, Lee Kalia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Jesse were having this conversation the other day. Like, is Lee Kalia actually going to be a good footballer? Or does he, who is Lee Kalia?
Which one
he
is
hasn't
he
played
again?
that much footy, you know what I mean?
I think he's played 12 games and is the most he's played in a season, or maybe it's a little bit more than that. But it's
Yeah.
not much.
Mate, $800K, hang on a minute. Maybe St Kilda have just been like, actually, let's think about
He's
this.
definitely a project player at this point, isn't he? But I think he's played, without watching every single VFL game, he's had enough good games at that level. And the athleticism's pretty crazy with him. So I think he can,
That's
but
true.
he doesn't, I agree with you. I think when you're talking about key defenders, they kind of just need games into them to be able to understand exactly what they are. Is he just going to be this sort of exciting leap at the footy defender, or can he actually defend and be a number one guy? We're yet to see that. So I sort of get it from St Kilda's point of view, but obviously morally a little bit questionable given how much they turned his head and probably promised him a lot of things.
I reckon
Yeah.
Silvani joining was just we don't need a key defender anymore.
So you reckon that just...
I think so, because that wasn't really on the cards, I didn't feel like, for a while. That Lee Kalia trade has been spoken about since April or May.
Well, apparently they've been doing work on him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And having conversations with him behind the scenes for 2 years. I mean, that
It
does...
is-
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, I was jumping in rudely.
Oh,
You
no,
continue.
you're right. I was going to say that doesn't mean you're going to absolutely trade for him.
Yeah.
Just going after him. But it did seem that it was too far to pull out.
Story of
Anyway.
my love life.
Look, it is shambolic. It's a really bad look, and I think there's this sort of somewhat unspoken about thing in AFL circles where you don't want to piss off player agents. And I heard a compelling argument that, funnily enough, his manager or agent is called Dylan Smith.
Yeah, it is. He used to play for North Melbourne. Actually.
Dylan.
Oh, I vaguely remember. Was it Dylan A. Smith or something? Or am I thinking of Stephen A. Smith?
I don't remember
Dylan
that.
R. Smith.
Is that yeah.
I don't remember the A part, but he actually got... I think it's the same guy.
Yeah, right.
I just got to absolutely double check that. But
It makes sense.
he played for North Melbourne. He was actually a relatively high draft pick back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then he went to
rings a bell.
Freo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
guy.
And now he's on True Footy.
Yeah.
But I heard an argument that perhaps because who he's represented by is not a particularly big agency, that probably played a factor in St Kilda being more willing to piss him off a little bit, which is quite a cynical view, but possible. It seemed like the whole thing went out the window when St Kilda offered a future second for Liam Ryan, because that deal got done right before. I believe the asking price for Lee Kalia was around the mark there. But then GWS, I think it was Jason McCartney, came out and said, well, you can also trade a 2027 future second. So, I don't really know how St Kilda didn't see this coming. We knew they were going to trade for Liam Ryan. And the Silvani thing went through a week ago, or at least, it was odds on to join them as much as a week ago. So, yeah, I'd say it's sloppy from St Kilda. Do I think they should have paid $800K for Lee Kalia? No. But I do think this could come back to bite them when they're trying to recruit other players going forward.
Okay, so you do actually think it'll have ramifications for other players doing deals with them?
I think it's possible there's a ripple effect where other clubs will be wary of St Kilda. And I think I support a club who does this. They're not the only ones who try and be very amenable to agents' demands and looking after players, hence why they're easy to deal with, West Coast amongst others. And I'm not saying they're necessarily right because it probably hasn't paid off, but the St Kilda right now, the inverse, where they've just pissed off a player massively. I reckon it's possible there are ripple effects throughout the league.
Analysis aside, St Kilda would probably be the shittest club to deal with, I reckon.
Wow.
When you
Analysis aside.
You're fact aside,
yeah.
objectivity aside.
I'm just looking at the demeanor of some of the dudes running that football club. Ross Lyons, list manager, coach, head trainer, all at the same time.
There's a cult of personality around Ross Lyon.
The
He's
CEO is always just we're a small Victorian club and we get it hard. And then they're the actual list manager or whoever it was the other day, yeah, we got cash, boys. We got cash. They're just weird dudes running that footy club.
Devil's advocate, though, you said the small Victorian club, if they just fall into line and they act, I don't know, not as alpha as they're trying to be at least, we don't know if it's going to work out, but they just get pushed around and they stay mid-table.
Oh, yeah,
automate
100%.
forever. So, are they not like for their fans at least, would just be somewhat happy that they're actually trying to throw their weight around.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say this Lee Alias situation is an example of being alpha. It looks more, it reeks a little bit of incompetence and sloppiness. I'm not saying that they're all incompetent collectively as a result of that, but I'd say this move is a bad one.
There was someone in the chat that was saying like they pulled out because I think like they kept Wilkie, they added Silvani.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, we don't have enough money to pay I
almost feel like they didn't expect to be so successful in the trade period.
Yeah.
That could
And
be
he just fell down, like the dominoes fell, and we went, you're the least necessary player on our list now, and we're not going to take you.
Yeah. Heath actually had a good point. He said, can I be controversial? What's the difference between a player walking out on a club and a club ending interest in a player? I feel like the Saints just flipped the script a little bit. I guess so. The difference here is probably just the fact that they led him down the garden path and in the middle of trade period gave him a call saying, actually, this is not happening. So like he would have been planning, what car am I going to buy? Where am I going to live in St Kilda? Like, when you're moving interstate, those are the sorts of things you're thinking about, and it can be a stressful time. So I
know other players have spoken about this in podcasts and stuff. I think it was Daniel Gorringe actually that was talking about it, where when he left the Gold Coast, there was one exit that he was going to have and go to Port Adelaide, back to his home state. And pretty much everything had gone through. And at the final hour, Port Adelaide actually pulled out of the deal. And I think they got somebody else in. So it was a similar situation. And he'd basically severed a few ties at the Gold Coast at that point. And there was a bit of like on the way out, like fingers going up. And then
doesn't seem like
final hour, pull out of the deal. And then you're kind of stuck at the club. Now, I'm not suggesting that happened. It seems like the club's very supportive of Lee Kalia. And if he is to go back to the Giants.
I think he has a 3-year offer on the table, but it obviously just wasn't the $800K that he was preparing himself for.
Yeah. So there's the money side of it and there's the relationship side of it. Because always, like when you tell somebody, I don't want to be with you anymore, it's never easy to like come back into the same room, is it?
No, that's very, very real.
That hits home a bit too hard. Anyway, football.
I'll explain later.
Okay.
Anyway, the other thing that we probably didn't focus on enough with Leah, stop laughing, is that if he was offered $800K a year, we're also talking a significant upgrade in like quality of life, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So if I think I read he was in Europe at the moment.
Yeah,
so,
someone said it's hard for him to do a medical at any other club because he's away.
Yeah, well, that's true. Which is probably also a little bit on him. Like you probably don't go away during the trade period, but
he's on that $800K a year holiday budget right now.
Yeah, that's
splashing the cash.
He would actually be. I bet. Like, yeah, he's meeting up with people. He's like, my shout. Yeah, I've got this.
I want a fat contract on the way, boys.
Yeah, it's tough though. Like, no, you do. I mean, obviously, if you get a contract like that, you start to plan for it. Probably bought a house, started to do all this sort of stuff in Melbourne, and it's off. Where does he end up though?
Well, I suppose you go through the clubs that are looking for key backs. We know North Melbourne is one of them. The Bulldogs have tried and failed with a couple of them. The Sydney Swans just got Jai Sarong. So it is possible that they don't double up, but those are the ones coming to mind. Who else would we think would need a key defender?
North Melbourne.
Yeah, so North the Dogs and...
Oh, you said North, sorry.
Yeah, and probably to a lesser extent Sydney.
Yes. Well, the other team that are heavily in for him are Collingwood.
Yes, Collingwood is definitely another
true.
good
That's
nomination.
a shout.
Yeah. The salary would be an interesting one, but we'll talk about Josh Simpkins soon, and they believe they can absorb Josh Simpkins' salary, so therefore Lee Kalia, where they can negotiate a new deal, that wouldn't break the bank, you'd think.
He's not going to get $800K though, is he?
No.
Yeah, he's not going to get... I feel like the whole part of that deal being like such a lock all year was the money side of it. And St Kilda having that cap space. But now it's like, realistically, that's not... Like, they were paying overs to get him if they were going to get him. Now they're not. So, like, other clubs coming in, they're not going to be offering... That probably... I don't know what, like, an average AFL player's salary is, but I don't see GWS offering more than $700K, $600K for Lee Kalia. So, like, a team like the Dogs could come with, like, a slightly better offer and, yeah, maybe move him over to Melbourne.
It's just the Dogs are one of those teams, like, salary cap-wise, they've got a lot of guys in their prime. It's hard to bring in somebody that's that much of a project and put him on that kind of money when you're looking at I imagine Ed Richards had a huge pay rise recently. Players like,
Yeah.
of that caliber coming through as well.
Johanneson's out of contract, so I don't
Would
know
he
how
be on
much.
big money?
I
Johannesson?
don't know how long ago I don't know if he's just had a 2-year contract expire or if he signed one after his Norm Smith. Probably not. That was a long time ago. I would say probably not on a lot of money. What could happen though is I know the Adelaide Crows have chased Lee Kalir in recent times. I don't know this year, but certainly previous seasons. We know that the Dogs are chasing Jordan Butts. Could that open the door for Adelaide to get Liko Lear or let go of Jordan Butts on the proviso they get Liko Lear, Jordan Butts goes to the Dogs, Aaliyah gets to Adelaide. That's possible too. Dan Curtin gets to West Coast.
Interesting. Do you think Adelaide need a key defender though?
I think they would entertain it given that Butts is a player that they'd rather keep right now.
Yeah.
So they might. So, and I know that they've been interested in Aaliyah in recent times. Was he drafted out of SA? He was.
Was he?
He's pick 15 from SA, I thought.
Lee Kalir.
Lee Kalir.
Yeah, I know.
I think he was
Aaliyah
I
grew
thought
up
he
in
was
Perth. He grew up in
Aaliyah.
yeah.
You do know there's
Lee-
no relation between the two.
Are they
guys.
not related?
The name's spelled differently.
Damn. That makes me look terrible.
He is, yeah, he's from Central Districts.
Oh wow.
So that makes more
there's
logical sense.
there's the tie.
Dude, I look terrible.
Yeah, no, that was terrible. That was absolutely woeful. Well, I know that Aaliyah is from East Fremantle.
Yeah, cut that out. We're not live.
To be fair, I can understand how you'd make that mistake because they do have the same surname unless you see it written down.
Yeah.
And so far, no one in the chat is giving you hate. So we can chill.
That's a good slow buffer.
That's definitely a good sign. With Adelaide though, do you think Aaliyah is an upgrade on Butts for them as a depth defender?
There's no evidence to suggest that, but I suppose they're probably envisaging Jordan Butts wants to go now. So when he's out of contract in 12 months, he's going to go anyway.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
So perhaps if they're saying, Aaliyah, if you're okay to play in the Sandful, but come back home, you can fight your way.
That's the only thing for Aaliyah. Like he was on this he had this big money contract, 800K to St Kilda, where he was going to clearly be a first team starter. And now it's like you're going to Adelaide, where they don't have as good of a back line as what GWS do. Like you don't have to get ahead of Buckley and Taylor.
Yeah.
But it's still, I don't think he's going to walk straight into that team. So then he goes on less money and probably doesn't start again.
Yeah. Agreed. I suppose his options are a little bit limited though, because this secure opportunity is gone. So he has to weigh up what's the best scenario. It will rely on a better offer from the Dogs. The Dogs would need to be interested. And at the moment, there's nothing to suggest that. North Melbourne would have to be interested. But if they're not, then Adelaide, it'll be a choice between Adelaide or GWS. And I think he's contracted again for another year at the Giants. You'd think his chances of getting into the Adelaide team are slightly better than GWS. You imagine he's out of the best 22 in both of them, though.
Yep. Crazy. Cancel him. Yeah. Agree, True Footy. Did you comment that, Druzy?
Oh, God. That's just, that's a moment.
Oh, that's incredible stuff. I had a little bit of info here. This is a more draft-related piece here. But there's been a lot of talk recently around the Gold Coast Suns and their points crunch. They have picked up a lot of draft picks over the last couple of days. So I think as far as what they can do with matching bids on those top academy players like Ewland and Patterson and Addensu and these players is more comfortable than it was. But that depends also on whether they get players like Petrarca through the door. We know that they were in for Curnow as well. That's probably off now. There's one other though, Jamara as well.
Yeah.
Is the other one. So that still has to be a trade, right?
The only way it doesn't become a trade is if the Bulldogs can find a legal way to get out of his contract and sever his relationship with the club, then he would be a delisted free agent. As it stands, he's contracted. So the most simple way to deal with this is through trade. However, whatever money he's on, I think Gold Coast are obliged to pay it.
Yes, okay.
They can smooth it out. I don't know what he's on, how long that deal is off the top of my head. But those are the implications there. Those are the different considerations.
I'm just fascinated in what the Gold Coast Suns do with the rule changes, with the bid matching, if they definitely take all of these players. And I came across an interview from Dylan Patterson. Now, I'm certain that they'll match on Ewland. He's kind of their prime piece there. I was going to read you a quote that Dylan Patterson had in the Herald Sun when he did an interview recently. He said, "If they don't manage to get me, the Gold Coast Suns, I just think it's their loss."
Oh.
I'm happy to go prove myself somewhere if they are willing to do that, Patterson said. At the end of the day, it's a business. I'm not going to get upset at them. They've got their job and I've got mine. And then he said further to that on other clubs, he said, a lot of clubs are just assuming that I'm going to the Suns, so they don't even bother to do background information on me. He's just going whack, whack, whack.
Damn.
Everyone, Suns, everybody else. What do you think of that? Is there anything in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably preparing for the possibility the Suns can't get it. First thing I'd say is I don't imagine the Suns let him slip. I also think now that we've seen a few fringe pieces / best 22 players from the Suns move on. You got Flanders, you've got Ainsworth, you got Malcolm Roses Jr. More recently, there was a rumor around Jake Rogers and possibly someone else that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Suddenly, the depth has actually been removed a little bit. You bring in Petrarca and Hugo Hagen, but the opportunities for a Ewland or a Patterson have just gotten a little bit better, I think, to move their way into the side next year than they were at the start of the trade period. Therefore, if I'm the Gold Coast Suns, I don't pass up this opportunity. I think they'll find a way.
I suppose on the flip side of that, though, are the Gold Coast Suns looking at all these players that are starting to want to get out because they've almost got together like too much talent. And there's so many players that aren't getting into positions or the starting team. Like Rogers and Lombard are going to be wanting minutes. Flanders is basically left because he wasn't getting centre bounce minutes, wasn't getting the positional priority. So are they thinking more just let's focus in on the best 23 and let's like the squad building can take a back seat for a little bit. And we don't need all these guys. We don't need 4 or 5 academy players coming through the door.
Yeah, possibly. I do think that these two kids are probably too good to pass up. And I feel like Patterson and Ewland also, I mean, you're the draft man out of us, but I would say that those guys probably have some capacity to play well next year and actually be part of their immediate depth / role players.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I reckon the Suns will be very aware that these guys are too good to pass up on whilst acknowledging Flanders. Well, that got them a really good deal. Pick 7 for Sam Flanders, I think, is a really solid outcome. Ainsworth probably... I'd pick 29. I think. What do they get?
What picks will get like swallowed up if Ewland and Patterson get bid on early?
That's really hard to. It'd be most of them.
Currently, it'd be because you don't get to choose.
Yeah.
You don't go like, I don't want 7 to get swallowed. You have to get rid of it if you don't want it. It's just because it's the next pick in.
Yeah.
So if they've got pick 7, 8, and 9, pick 7, 8, and 9 will get evaporated. Yeah. That's why you see like Essendon in 2024, they traded out of the top 10 because they had Kako. He didn't get a bid until 15 and they had, I think, pick 7. So they traded it into the future draft because that automatically gets eaten as soon as someone makes the bid.
Interesting.
Somebody mentions Fiorini's another one. I don't think Bailey Humphrey goes for those suggesting him, but I don't think that one happens. But yeah, Fiorini. So that's like 5 players out of their top 25 maybe off the top of my head.
Oh, the Melbourne media is pushing that Humphrey case hard. We were speaking about it in the group chat the other day, like how much fluff this trade period has produced. Like Nick Dacos didn't win the BNF, so clubs are pursuing Nick Dacos.
Peter Dacos storms out of BNF.
I think he just had a runny nose and wanted to get out of there. Just the rage baiting this trade period has been sensational.
It has. So if we look at Gold Coast, they've lost Ainsworth, they've lost Flanders. Is there anyone else that they've definitely lost?
Fiorini. Oh, that hasn't happened yet, but it will happen.
Yeah, well, that's the confirmed is Flanders, Ainsworth, and Fiorini.
Yeah.
Fiorini's not locked in, but he's going to the Dons, right?
It will happen. It just hasn't happened yet. Yeah,
David Swallow's retired
I suppose you can mention that because, I mean, he's immediate depth. So we're in the context of their depth, like that is a play they would...
Wasn't there chat during this week that he was like trying to find another club?
Yeah. Yeah.
David Swallow?
Yeah, there was. Yeah. I don't know how legitimate that was.
Yeah. It could only be West Coast, surely.
If they got Petrarca and Jamara Ugle-Hagen, and they lost Humphrey, Ainsworth, Flanders, Fiorini, is that a net positive?
I think when you're replenishing with Patterson and Ewland and you have the depth of talent they have, like Will Graham. They took 4 first rounders in 23.
They got so much talent that's not even really playing.
Yeah, and like these guys will be relatively ready for the grade, I think. The guys that they're bringing in, I really don't think it's a big deal. If anything, they're getting some pretty good deals so far. Ainsworth, maybe 2 years ago, I would have been surprised to see him traded for like pick 29. You know, I don't know if that's a ideal result. And they locked him up on a decent deal to retain him, only to then sell him for a bit of a discount, I would have thought. But overall, I think Bailey Humphrey's an absolute priority to keep.
Buderick. Forgot about Buderick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's requested a trade to the Dogs, hasn't he? Yeah, that hasn't gone through.
Which is funny because we were talking about the Dogs and who they'd got in, and he's the one.
Yeah, I think
That's all
it.
they've got. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Who did the Suns take in last year's draft? It was Lombard.
They took Leo Lombard.
They had a few first rounders in there.
No, it was a year before they had 4.
No, because they traded last year. They traded everything away for Rioli.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they did take other players. I'm just trying to think who they took later.
Yeah, they would have taken it.
I'm just trying to think of like the young players that they've had that haven't really played yet.
You've got more from the previous year, like that.
Walter.
Graham, Walter, Reed, Rogers. They were
Oh,
all,
yeah. Ethan Reed's a good one,
yeah. And they weren't all playing in the team later on in the season.
People in the chat are talking about like just the fluff, like Zach Butters playing golf with a couple Essendon players and Mitch Cleary like following him on the golf course.
And it keeps coming up like in the western suburbs of Melbourne.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't know. They just keep putting that in there.
Is that right?
Yeah, because he's from Darley, down like Bacchus Marsh,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
Western Victoria. And they keep, every time they want to link him back, they want to link him to the Western Bulldogs because it's the west of Melbourne.
And he grew up a Dogs fan.
Yeah, he grew up a Dogs fan. So they keep saying in Melbourne's inner west. Like it's just, I don't know, petrol.
Me and Jesse were speaking about this during the week. Like this Port Adelaide recruiting strategy right now, Dill, what are they doing? Like Will Brodie in, Fiorini in, like...
Oh, Fiorini's going to Essendon.
Oh, not Fiorini, but like they will chase Fiorini.
Yeah. They wanted him.
Where in? Where in? Live? Nah, come on. That was bad. That was really bad.
It was
That's
not
the
good.
second bad one.
I'm having a real bad start to this show. But yeah, just like with Tassie coming in, Porter just in no man's land, completely new coaching panel as well. Like they could just be really, really stinky in 2026.
Do you know what? They're actually pissing me off a little bit because, you know, like most of the time when teams are list building and they're at the draft or at the trade, you kind of get what they're doing. Like, even if you don't agree with it, you're sort of like, okay, like they're building with youth or whatever. I haven't no, they're confusing me.
Yeah.
They're actually annoying me because they're confusing me. I don't know what they're doing. I don't really get the plan, particularly if Butters is leaving. Like, I don't know why. If he's leaving in 12 months, why would you be wanting to get a bunch of like C grade players through the door that are just filling list spots? I can't find the strategy there.
Is there more value now to trade him because he's contracted compared to next year?
Yeah.
It depends though, because if Butters requests a trade to, say, a Hawthorn or a Bulldogs, like their first round picks are 9 and 12 respectively. But next year, if Port Adelaide finish like bottom 4, then you're talking a top 5 pick there. So, because it'll be a band 1 compensation, unless, you know, the AFL change the rules because of
the
Oscar
Dogs
Allen.
finish bottom 4.
No, the Port.
Oh,
Sorry, Port. Yeah, if Port finish bottom 4, then they'll get band 1 compensation if he leaves as a free agent. And that would generate pick 5. And that's, you know.
But for Butters even.
That's not enough for Butters.
No.
That's true. But I mean, like, let's say we're talking about like if Port decided, okay, we'll trade him this year.
Yeah.
Like, what if he requests a trade to Collingwood? Then that's nowhere near as good as band 1 next year.
No. But I guess that's where you would say to Butters, you can't go to Collingwood.
Yeah.
You're like, you got to go to a club that's got picks.
Yeah.
And we will choose. We'll let you go to a Victorian club, but it sort of has to be somewhat on our terms, right?
It feels like the writing's on the wall for Butters. Like he's like, I'll be playing my football at Port Adelaide next year, he said. So it's like, but what about, like he hasn't said like, yeah, I want to be a Port Adelaide player like for the rest of my career or whatever. So is this going to be one where it's like, yeah, you want to keep Zach Butters, but he's obviously going to leave and you're just hanging on to him for hanging on to his sake, like sort of trade while his value's going to be maximized, like get him off, get a couple of first round picks in rather than just like a band 1.
That was you this time.
What?
Get him off.
Get him off?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a sex thing. Slat says, sounds like they would match.
I went straight over my head.
Yeah. Slat says it sounds like they would match. Yeah. So next year, as a restricted free agent, Port Adelaide could add this, like match a contract offer for Butters, which would then mean the compo doesn't apply and a trade has to happen. In that case, he's out of contract anyway. So this contract thing, it does help if he's contracted for trade value, but it really depends who wants him. Because at the moment, Port Adelaide have that power to say no to Collingwood. But next year, if he's out of contract and Collingwood offer him that and they match the bid, Well, they'd have a decision to make. They'd either have to match the bid to force a trade with Collingwood, who would probably have nothing to give them, unless Collingwood fall apart.
Yep.
Or conversely, they can, alternatively rather, they can not match the bid and get
Right.
pick 5 or whatever.
That's
It's
I didn't know that.
all
that's
things
how it
considered,
worked.
though, with just him wanting to leave the football club under a new coach in general is not ideal. And the period so far, they've got in Will Brodie, Jacob Ware, and Corey Durden is the other one.
Those are 3. Like Will Brodie, I liked at Freo. Corey Durden was like Carlton's 3rd best small forward in a team that has no good small forwards. And who was the other one?
Corey Durden.
Ware,
Jacob Ware.
sorry.
Jacob Ware.
Never
Who's
seen him.
like, he's okay.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's a little flanker.
I suppose when you consider it's a value trade-off, right? And Port Adelaide are favouring, like, what's the difference between what's the value trade-off between pick 58 and Will Brodie or whatever? That trade hasn't happened yet, has it?
No,
I don't think it has. So let's call it like pick 60 for Will Brodie. You could easily make the argument Will Brodie is more valuable than that. And Port Adelaide, I think, are probably envisaging a bit of a shake-up with their list going forward. And they probably value like Will Brodie, Corey Durden over the later draft picks, particularly in this year's draft. So I kind of understand that, but they also haven't been hitting the draft in recent times. Last year they were involved in that trade for where Houston went. They did get Joe Berry and Rory Atkins and Jack Lukosius.
They had actually, to be honest, they had a low-key pretty good draft last year.
Yeah, Whitlock was the other one, right?
Jack Whitlock and Christian Moraes.
Yeah,
Fair.
Moraes,
Yeah.
Berry.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, we had this exact conversation the other day, but other
I
than
did
that,
forget about that.
Yeah, I suppose like my thing would be going after players like Will Brodie and Jacob Ware and these types of players. Like, is that going to hinder their development if they're not able to get games into?
Well, they're not playing games at their current club, so surely like the young talent that's in your club first and foremost is on the team sheet before Will Brodie. And
You would have to think so. And
You also don't want to overexpose them though.
that's
thing.
true. Yeah,
So I
give
think
them some development.
It's
in
a
the
fine
sample.
balance, I think. You want to have a Will Brodie who you can give. You want to rest a young midfielder at your club, so you bring in Will Brodie that week.
But would you look at Port Adelaide as the club that is so young that they need leaders to bring in like experienced players around those guys? Like I feel
No.
like they have enough that's already on their list.
Yeah,
I would have
they're not
thought-
like West Coast.
No.
Yeah.
No, so it seems, and like I don't know, like maybe they know that Will Brodie's like a really good character. I don't know what you know about him, Druzy, but he seems more likely to be at absolute best. He's just going to be like a rotation mid.
Yeah, he's just first hand on the ball, contested, and then other than that, like pretty useless. Lower class Brum says Will Brodie is a gun inside mid, only held back by Caleb Strong's greatness. He will be the Matt Kennedy of next season.
I don't think he has that potential.
Joe Berry next year is going to be something special. That's our man, mine and Dylan's man.
I love Joe Berry.
Yeah, good player.
I would agree with that. And I think Whitlock's great. I think Christian Moraes was a bit of a steal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
the
look
draft-
good.
That's fair.
Yeah. The issue to compound with what's going on this year, though, with these players, like they don't have anything at the start of this draft.
No.
No first round pick.
Oh, I think the pick they gave up for Durden was the highest pick they had. And that
What was it?
I think that was 29, which is now at Gold Coast as part of the three-way
That
deal.
seems too high for Durden.
So yeah,
Was
to
that
me.
all they got? I think they got.
So
I can't remember
Port
if they got something back.
received
Yeah.
Corey Durden and
And
a
a second
2026 second round pick.
Okay, yeah,
And-
no, that's much cheaper.
Gave pick 29 and a 4th.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so they've also banked picks next year. So let's talk a little bit about Dougie Cochran because he is
Douglas.
like another generational talent. We get them every second year who could join Port Adelaide. But he's one of the top prospects from SA in next year's draft. Albeit, as far as I'm aware, there's plenty of doubt that he would qualify as an NGA for Port Adelaide. What's your understanding of that situation?
Honestly, I don't have eyes on that particularly well.
Yeah,
I know
okay.
that this sort of happens every year with at least one player where there's a club like lobbying really hard to be able to get them as an NGA or a father-son or whatever it is. So until that really gets confirmed, I don't know. But if they get him, obviously that's a massive boost for them. I think there was a theory that Port would have been trying to... Do you remember when we had that kind of reporting on the draft of 2026 that clubs wouldn't be able to match inside the top 5 picks?
Yeah.
There was a school of thought that Port were going to be trying to get up into next year's draft to be able to get Dougie Cochran just in the open draft.
Yeah, okay.
But if they can get this NGA thing over the line, those rules haven't gone through. So they actually wouldn't be looking for picks in the next year's draft. based on that.
Yeah.
They'd be wanting to kick them into 27 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no doubt that would be a huge like anytime you're getting a father-son or an academy player inside the top 5 picks, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, for sure. The dog father says nothing better than listening to YouTubers saying someone has no potential.
Who did he say has no potential?
I said that. I said it about Will Brodie. I said he doesn't have the potential of a Matt Kennedy, is what I said. So that one's squarely on me.
Yeah.
Peter G, have you heard Swoop Luke say that according to his sources, Butters
I love this.
Butters has 1 foot in the AIA Centre? I think that's, that was a very complicated procedure to amputate the foot and transport it to...
I was going to say, did he mean literally? Like he went into the AIA Centre?
They're preserving it and they're hoping to clone him in 10 years. I have not heard that. I did not know Swoop said that. I know Swoop, or Luke, as I'll call him.
Swoop.
I know Swoop Dog. And yeah, I've not heard that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's a bloke in the chat called Sniff who says, are trades able to go through on Saturdays and Sundays? Because there was no action over the last weekend. Do list managers just take the weekend off?
I reckon there'll be sleepless nights. I reckon they'll be working through the weekend.
Because we had
Surely.
we had the show last Saturday and there was like so much going on, and then like nothing happened on the Sunday.
Oh, they don't announce it. The trades can't be lodged. Wait, sorry, did you say journalists or did you say list managers?
List managers.
Okay. The list managers, I reckon they'd be still catching up for coffees, maybe a couple pints, a couple of Pinot Noirs. No, I don't know about pints, but I reckon they'd still be working through the weekend. You would be negligent not to be working through the weekend right now. You'd be trying to find every single permutation because the trades are so complicated these days.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of what's happening elsewhere because you might say, oh, in 4 trades time, Carlton might have pick 45 and that might be enough to get Campbell Chesser, who might be enough to get Tyler Young. Like, you got to be aware. So I can't imagine these guys are not working. But somebody also asked, the trade's still able to go through on Saturday and Sunday. As far as I'm aware, they cannot be lodged, but it wouldn't be the first time we've heard a story on the weekend and then it comes to fruition on the Monday, but no trades can actually be formalised.
Slat says, no, they can't. AFL House is closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Should we get into some of the confirmed trades? None of this speculation
I might
drama.
have a tinkle. Sorry.
All right, go up. Go
Jesse.
tinkle.
384 in the chat. Thank you for being here, guys. Chuck a like on the stream.
Chuck a like on the stream if you are
Sniff
enjoying.
100K says, and also on Roby, you only get one question, Sniff 100K. You can't do this. I get the excitement and the
You only
trajectory.
get one question.
But is there something in taking established junior footballers who have done it for years? Remember Callahan shot up and Sonsi... Ooh, I've lost the...
Sonsi slid.
And Sonsi slid. Okay, I'm just trying to work out the relevance of Callahan in that.
Was Callahan highly touted all throughout his draft year, or did he just like shoot up late?
I think he was a little bit of a bolter. Obviously that like high end size of him, and he had a lot of like explosiveness and power. So he's probably, but he had a solid junior year. I think that's a fair point. What I've kind of said, I guess, consistently on Roby is there's always going to be an element of risk around a player that doesn't even play in the national championships.
Yeah, that's true.
So you've never actually witnessed him play against like the top level of other junior player to see how he could have fared in like the different positions that he's done there. That being said, he does play in the Coates Talent League, which if I was weighting the junior leagues, that is definitely the one that you would have that has the highest amount of depth. I think some of the other leagues have like the quality at the top end, but they don't have the depth of the Coates Talent League. So he's performed exceptionally well at that level. He's kicked goals as a forward. He's racked up big touches in the midfield. So he's done what I would call enough to be a top 10 pick. It just comes down to, I feel like there's no other draft that has been this much where you've got to make this big decision between the consistency and the reliability of players like Dyson Sharp or Dan Annable or Oliver Greaves, who just kind of rock up week to week, but probably don't have that excitement level. But you've got all these players that are more exciting, but there is something about them that lacks a consistency level. And then you've got Roby, who has been consistent in the back half of the year, but he doesn't have the junior pedigree of some of these other guys. It's a tough one. It's genuinely a tough one to say, like, I'm not going to take like a Dyson Sharp, who's just so reliable.
Yeah.
He's got the mentality. You know what he's going to bring. Essentially, was it Slats that asked that question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the Sniff 100K?
Oh, it was too. Sniff 100K, yeah. So I hope I answered that okay.
What a
But
name.
it's definitely, I reckon this has been, for me, like, a really difficult draft just to pull those parts. We're just talking about this year's draft with that piece on like the consistency of the Annabelle, the Sharp, and the Greaves types versus taking someone a little bit more, potentially more upside, a bit more exciting. And it's one of the more difficult drafts I've found for that.
I was thinking mid-tinkle then about bolters, and you're talking about Finn Callahan, which I don't even remember if he was a bolter or not, but I was thinking how many of these guys who bolted into the top 5 to 10 sort of late in the piece were actually success stories. And I actually think most of them are. I'm trying to think of a guy who bolted. This is a really hard one off the top of the head, by the way. But I remember Zagoe was quite a bolter. Clayton Oliver was a bolter. And those ones I would say were both successful.
Oh, definitely.
When I say bolter, I mean like, I'm not sure about Clayton. Might have been like from the 20s to pick 3 or something like that.
I would consider anyone a bolter that they probably weren't in the AFL Academy side at the start of the year. They weren't considered amongst the top 10 to 20 players in March, April, maybe pre-champs.
Yeah.
And then they have that late kick, right? That was Tyroo. Tyroo got into the Vic Country champs side late and then had a really good back end of the year. He's another one that you wouldn't say he's a success yet, but he looks good.
Yeah. I can think of one that probably didn't turn out, and that was Nakia Cockatoo, 2014. He bolted into the top 10. Geelong pipped West Coast for the pick. Ended up, we were probably happy about that in hindsight, but that was one that I think probably didn't work out. But Clayton Oliver, Jordan DeGoey, and God, I can't think off the top of my head, but if the chat can help us out.
Aleem said Bont.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bolt. I'll pay that. Like, not a huge jump, but like late in the piece, Bulldogs pounced on him. Yeah, I remember thinking at like pick 12, West Coast were a chance, and then suddenly nowhere near it. Whatever we had, pick 11. Petrarca bolted to pick 1 as well. Actually, he again mid-year was not
Petrarca. Yeah, he wasn't pick 1.
Sorry, you're right. No, you're right. But he bolted to be the pick 1 favorite, and then on draft day he went pick 2. But you're right. No, he was probably again whatever West Coast pick was that year. I think it was 12. Like the West Coast was ambitiously, or the West Coast fan community was ambitiously hoping for Petrarca, and then it just got clear he wasn't going to be there.
Right.
Even Lawler to some extent, and that's looking successful so far.
Yeah.
I guess that what I'm saying is generally when these guys bolt, more often than not, they come good off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think though you would have to more granularly look at those to compare them all.
Sure.
Like you mentioned Lawler, I wouldn't say Lawler was a bolter at all. I think like pretty much post champs, there was a strong feeling that he was going to be the number 1 pick. He was also particularly just really liked by Richmond. They were massive fans and kind of saw him as a player that they could build their club around. But yeah, he was in the academy side at the start of the year, he was the captain of Vic Country. He was a leader there. So you'd have to have a look at it. I think Roby is a bolter in a different way because he even got cut from his Coates Talent League team as recently as last year. He was with Dandenong Stingrays and then got re-picked up by the Rangers, grew a lot. So I think he's more of a risk, Roby.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, playing in the top under 18 league in Australia, he's been exceptional and he's been one of the main reasons that his team's won a grand final, and he stood up and had a big game on grand final day. So you're mitigating the risk there with those performances, I feel, but there is less data on someone like that.
Trev says that my concern on Roby is his 2K time. Did you mention this? Was it particularly bad?
No.
That's one of the easier metrics to improve as well.
Yeah, it is. It is the easiest. So I wouldn't be concerned on that. His 20-meter sprint was slower than I expected it to be, but also not. It was like 3.15 or something, I think, or 3.12. Not terrible. And I feel like those bigger bodied mids often have a time like that. And when they're actually, if you look at their max velocity and their top speed, once they actually get up ahead of steam, it's a lot better. It's just off the mark. They're a little bit slower.
Yeah. We got a few donos.
Yeah, please go through those.
The Dogfather says, thoughts on Will Darcy? Thank you for the donation.
Will Darcy.
Yeah, younger brother of Sam.
I have seen him play one APS game where he played really, really well, and I was super excited. And then he got a call up to the Oakley Chargers team, and then he didn't get a kick in the second game. I don't think he reappeared for the Oakley Chargers unless it was really late in the back end of the season again. And I didn't see any more APS footy of his team at Scotch. So difficult one for me to judge. He looks talented. He looks like he's athletic, but I haven't seen enough to rate. I think he's a father son to the Western Bulldogs, right? So he also didn't compete at the draft combine. so we didn't get any athletic data on him. So I don't know is the honest answer.
Lewis is at work. He said no West Coast talk yet. No worries. We don't have to talk about West Coast. That's brilliant.
What we will do is go through trades, the confirmed trades
Hang on.
first.
Should we go Gritio as well?
Yeah.
Did I miss any crumb talk?
Yeah. So we're about to go through the confirmed trades first of all and just go through them one by one.
Let's go through the confirmed trades. Let's
one by
do
one.
it.
All right. Let's go through the tracker.
The tracker. The tracker.
Oh, you are 0 from 4, baby.
If people could see your shirt from the back, Jesse,
Can we not draw
It'd be so
attention
much
to
more
this?
exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at you in the main shot. I'm like, that shirt doesn't do it. It doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. Maybe we can do something
Yeah, do you
about
want to turn your shirt around?
it. Yeah, that'd be good. And just
I didn't expect that.
yeah, no,
There
no,
we go.
No one did, baby.
That almost works. It looks a bit baggy, but
Yeah, I haven't been to the gym in a month, so
Nice.
I'm going to put this back for this part of the video.
oh, come on, man, leave it.
You guys make some chit
Leave
chat.
it. The chat says leave it.
People are bickering about the quality of the draft, comparing it to 2020. But yeah, I think that's at widescreen TV. What's that? Void-oid generation? Am I saying that right? Void-oid?
Vidoid.
Voidoid.
Voidoid generation.
Is that the correct?
Yeah.
I don't think anything could be worse than 2020. Those kids weren't allowed to play any footy. Such a bust draft. That's true. So that shows you what it's like when recruiters don't actually get to go.
Was that the Jamara draft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Phil Thorpe, Jamara, Will Phillips.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Josh Tracy that draft because, hardly played. And then
You also had Goulden and Warner. Not Warner,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, they're
Goulden and
Ma-
Holmes.
Max
That's
Holmes.
what I meant to say.
Yeah. But it definitely, there was like, that draft is clearly one that was
compromised.
compromised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curtin is kicking bags every other game. Whoever picks him will win, says someone on the internet.
You'd have to be blind not to see that.
So Werty 103, I have significant concerns about Dan Annabelle's handspan. That's good. I like that.
I don't get the joke.
I just think it's fun. Like,
Oh,
I think
it's
he's just
just-
taking the piss. Like,
yeah,
people
right.
going like, oh, I'm worried about.
Wait, this hand span? Like the
I don't
width
know.
of his hand?
I just
Okay.
think he's just like
Oh, okay. All right.
absolutely
Sorry.
taking the piss.
I'm slow with that. Yes, I get it now.
I assume, unless
Yeah.
he seriously is worried about that. Do they even take handspan? They probably do. They
yeah.
don't
I doubt
publicize it.
I doubt they just measured that.
Nah.
They do definitely do like they do like the weight
Wingspan and height
and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and they don't release it. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a worry. I wouldn't have thought.
All right, let's get into some confirmed trades,
Yeah.
Jesse.
We'll just react to these one by
Sorry, I
one.
have to say one thing. We've got one comment. Aleem Sani says 2K isn't a good. That's gone down now, but he said 2K is not a good test for AFL, and Yo-Yo is better. Yo-Yo is actually a lot worse than the 2K time trial. I just had to get that.
That's fine. Slat says, Jesse, old ass man, not getting the joke. Do I need to talk to you about jokes? Does anyone think I don't get jokes?
That's usually
That's
me.
my whole vibe. That's what I'm here for.
That's me. I don't get jokes.
No, that was fair. I was very slow.
What
It's
was
been a
my-
tough week.
What was my fourth joke that I missed before that you said wasn't funny?
You said get him off.
No,
that
there was
the
more
third one.
recently than that.
Oh,
I thought
What did you say? You
I
mixed up
can't.
Alia. You
No, that one didn't exist. I don't know what you're talking
Will
about.
Darcy. No, I thought the Will Darcy one was funny. The Petrarca. Oh, and Ware.
Yeah, it was Petrarca.
and the Jacob Ware one.
Petrarca was. I didn't think Petrarca was the worst. Anyway,
No, the Jacob Ware one was probably pretty bad.
Yeah, that was bad. All right. Confirmed trades. Talk me through what has actually happened so far so we can get through all the fluff.
We will walk through the trades that have happened and become official and just react to them one by one. Silvani got to St Kilda. We know about this end of round one compensation pick. That happened 8 days ago, so we probably already talked about it. Geelong received James Warple for pick 39. We sort of discussed that kind of makes sense. We can also kind of see Warple becoming good at Geelong, or even better, I'd say.
Is that his value? Pick 39? Were you happy with that?
No, see, this is actually, as a sideline, I want to roast Tim Watson here. So every year when this happens, there is always tons of discussion around the free agency system and the compensation framework and how it produces crazy results. Of course, people are very unhappy. One other thing I actually noticed was that the Fox Sports reported the band won compensation for Oscar Allen being picked to as a handout. I was like, are you serious? Some Richmond fan has just written an article for Fox Sports going, is it a handout? Anyway, Tim Watson also roasted the compensation for Oscar Allen. Like, fair enough if you have issues with the framework, but the funny thing about Tim Watson in this particular video is he didn't know how the compensation framework worked.
Oh, God.
And Gary Lyon explained it to him, like, and he's like, yeah, so essentially, like, where you finish on the ladder, you get a pick based on that, and it's tied to that. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't know how that's worked. I was like, how are you doing a segment on SEN talking about the trade period? You have come to this conversation to roast the compensation, and you didn't think to Google how it's calculated.
That's why you started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't make mistakes ever.
Never. I can relate to that in the sense that sometimes you just miss stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you'd think if you actually came armed to roast something
totally.
it'd be like us doing a video on something
Yeah.
and just being completely wrong with the premise.
I think, look, we've probably done that, but I think something as large as how the free agency formula is calculated is one that's a little bit unforgivable.
It's a bit the same though as last year when like Corns did a big piece, I remember, on SEN last year about the Gold Coast Suns giving up pick 6 for Rioli.
Yeah.
And it's fair enough that he's saying that is too much value for Rioli, but a pick that any team has is only as valuable as what it is to them, right? So the Gold Coast Suns trading pick 6 doesn't mean as much to them as it does to, say, North Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which, when I feel like when people are commentating on stuff like that, they don't consider it.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. That's the nuance that's lost on some former players. With respect, obviously, like they know more about actual football. Like Kane Corns and I would not debate Kane Corns on like actual football analysis of a player and how they play and who's better and what's acceptable in a footy club. I can't.
Why not?
Yeah, well, I could try. But like things like all this new age list management stuff, they clearly don't quite have a handle on it, but they still come in hot.
They do.
Edwards says that the framework for the compensation is a load of shit. Allen shouldn't be in the same band as TDK, who is earning 50% more a season. So I think like criticizing the entire framework of how it's generated is fair, and that's an ongoing conversation that needs to evolve. The same thing popped up with Ben Mackay 2 years ago.
Yep.
The fact of the matter is that they were both just in the top band there. I would certainly argue that you could probably raise the limit so band 1 is harder to attain. I don't disagree with that. But the problem is it's such a moving target with the salary cap going up, and so it's hard. It's also not transparent, so we don't know.
Should it actually just be taken out of like those parameters that are there, like the ladder position? Should it actually just be taken out of the club, off the club's finishing position and anything to do with sporting integrity, and the AFL actually does just make it up?
That opens up the door for the AFL to cop so much more heat. So I can understand why they wouldn't do that, because they would be open to like criticisms of why would you favour North Melbourne over a West Coast? You know what I mean?
Yes.
That I think that's the door, the can of worms it would open.
Do you think there's, in theory though, that could actually be more fair as opposed to this like ladder position, exact salary? You could more actually base it on what the player that is walking out the door is worth.
The problem with it is that like when you make things subjective, you open up so many different possibilities of how it could go wrong. When it's objective criteria, like the AFL can at least like sort of rest on that. I think it's in theory it could be fairer, but then there's the question of will it be? Yeah, and then in essence it could also be worse.
I'm only coming from that of the perspective of I hate rules that favour losing, like giving you a benefit by losing.
I get that. It's an equalisation measure. So somebody just pointed out that Buddy Franklin got pick 19. Well, it was still band 1 compensation. It was the biggest contract anyone had received at the time in the history of the game.
They just won a premiership though.
Yeah. They'd won their second flag in 5 years. So, and that is the point. It's meant to make it a little bit worse for a Hawthorn to lose players to free agency than a than a North Melbourne or a West Coast right now. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. TDK rather joined Carlton for pick 9. That has been confirmed. Okay, so Draper goes for band 2 compensation in the end. He joins the Brisbane Lions, and Essendon received pick 20. I think this is where James Hird, amongst others, were very, very salty about the fact that Draper generated less of a compo pick. What are your thoughts on this? I presume he was just offered less money.
That just sort of come from Essendon being like, we want more. We need more draft picks. We need he hasn't played a full season of footy. I think his best footy was probably before he got injured this year. And he is an important piece for that Essendon side. But pick 20 does seem fair for Draper. I don't see him, obviously the compensation framework you guys just spoke about, but he doesn't seem like any a top 5 pick or whatever they're expecting.
When they're salty about it, are they sort of suggesting that perhaps he did get a contract that would tip him into band 1 and they just didn't get the pick back?
I don't know if that's their assertion because nobody knows. We have to assume that he was offered less than Oscar Allen.
And then that comes to the question then of why didn't Essendon match?
Yeah, that's true. I suppose with Essendon, they're dealing with the Brisbane Lions side who their first pick was 21 or something like that, or whatever it ended up being. So it wouldn't have actually been.
Was a better.
It probably was either way you slice it.
Yeah.
But should Sam Draper have received more money than Oscar Allen? No.
Yeah, Wordie's saying it's a bad example. Allen's clearly better than Draper.
Yeah, and I reckon in 2 years' time, I know Allen's value or perceived quality right now is very low.
Draper's younger.
Much younger?
He'd be 26.
They're both 26.
Is Allen only 26?
Yeah, he's free agent. Yeah.
Sam Draper's 27.
Oh, so Allen's younger.
Wow.
I reckon in 2 years' time there will be no doubt who is better between these two players. So we'll see.
Yeah,
That's
I remember
interesting.
when Oscar Allen came into the league, it was like, fuck, he's going to be one of the better key forwards in the comp. And he had a 60-goal season a couple of years ago.
53 in the worst team ever.
I do feel like you guys underrate Draper a little bit.
I think he's a good ruck, but his body's continued to break down. He's got... Was it Brad Scott that was saying on AFL 360,
degenerative hip issues?
Yeah, just completely was Draper's different to Merritt because X, Y, Z, A, B, C injury.
And it was all negative.
It was chronic hip injuries.
That's right, yeah, chronic hip injuries.
Something like that.
I don't know though. I feel Draper can be a pretty dominant modern day ruck and offer something. So I don't know. I feel like it's strange. Yeah, if he didn't go into band 1, it's almost strange for me that Essendon didn't match, given that they don't have any other rucks really coming. I know they've got Brian.
Somebody pointed out he might have been unrestricted. That changes it as well. I actually don't know the details of that. But I suppose all in all, I very strongly feel that Allen is the better player, but it actually only matters what the contract is. So
I also never said that Draper is bad. I just said that Allen is a better player.
I did imply it. So
yeah, I feel like we've talked about him a bit.
Yeah,
so there's been
that's right.
It probably has been from you more, Jesse.
I don't know if bad is the word I'd use.
He seems more effective as a forward, I reckon, than a ruck.
Really?
Yeah, possibly.
He sort of seems to find the footy more in forward 50 than he does around the ground.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
He can be dangerous as a forward, but I think there's still a decent amount of potential there with him if he could actually play a full season.
Yeah.
Draper was unrestricted.
Unrestricted. Okay, there you go.
Jacob
Ware joined Port Adelaide. We talked about their strategy of targeting mid-aged players to, I guess, smooth out a transition and remain more competitive in a year where the draft is not very strong, but also they don't have any picks. So they're adopting this strategy. West Coast kind of did this for a few years post Tim Kelly. We went for Zach Langdon and Sam Petrevsky-Seaton and Alex Witherden. And I'm sure Port Adelaide will be hoping to have more success
that worked
than that.
out great for you.
Yeah, but
I'll be watching your career with
I
great
did
interest.
support it at the time as a fan because I'm like, well, it's this or nothing because they're pick 60. So be it.
That led you to great areas.
North received Charlie Spargo for pick 41, which is probably about right on value, maybe a little bit. Yeah, probably. Actually, I think that's not great compo, but that is the system at the end of the day. You'd think maybe something
You're
in
not
the 30s.
going to get much better for him.
You wouldn't get much better. No, I agree.
No.
Yeah. Reedy becomes a blue for a very, very tasty trade. Pick 50 and a 4th round pick is what Fremantle received, 50 and 68. I suppose you guys also would be considering academy matches for maybe Toby Wan. Is he the only one at Fremantle this year that you're aware of? You'd probably have a few, but who's draftable? Toby Wan.
Yeah,
there's
it's not Fred Rodriguez isn't in there.
No, he's not. It's
Luke Ryder Luke.
Ryder Luke.
Yeah, Ryder Luke. Yeah.
That's the one.
The one he kicked 8 and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Yeah. Where does he play his footy?
The same team as Rodriguez, that
South
red and
Freo.
white one.
Yeah,
South Freo.
Yeah. Yeah, he kicked 8 goals from 8 kicks at halftime in a Colts game.
That's
Are they
how I learned who
linked to
he was.
Freo? Because Juan plays for them as well.
No, there's no alignment.
Yeah, it's not
No.
Okay.
alignment.
No.
What?
There's probably
What?
some overlap though with South Fremantle being in that catchment. I don't know.
Can you, as a WA club, just put any player in your academy, like in the NGA or?
No, there's restrictions. I think obviously a lot of them are Indigenous players, but not all of them are.
Yeah.
So I think, Neil Erasmus is South African, so I think he qualified through that. And I can tell by
I think
your face
Druzy
you
meant
didn't
from
see that
a zonal point of view, right?
coming. Yeah.
Well, like,
yeah.
why is like Toby Ware not in it, but someone like say like a Jacob Farrow or
No, Toby Wan is.
is Toby Ware Indigenous?
No, he's NGA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the
What's the difference between
criteria?
So I think between West Coast and Fremantle, it would be geographical.
Yes.
But there would be some heritage thing.
Right.
And I use Neil Erasmus as an example because he's South African born or
I can
South African parents.
roughly answer this question. As
Please
far
do.
as your as far as your ethnicity goes, there are certain countries that are considered NGA countries,
Yeah.
and there are
right.
others that aren't. So more likely, if it's like a European country, it's not going to be NGA.
Cam McKenzie was French, wasn't he?
Yeah, but they've
Yeah.
changed it. They're chopping and changing countries. Like there was, I think Christian Moraes, who had Portuguese heritage, was also
Okay.
at some point NGA
Yeah.
and then became not eligible for NGA. Alex Tyrou
So
was the
weird.
same with being Swedish.
Swedish, true.
But generally speaking, it's countries that are, I guess, like less culturally aligned with Australian culture, and they're less likely to have
Like a
picked
New
up,
Zealander or something like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're less likely to have picked up football given
Mm.
their ethnicity.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Pretty
Gotcha.
ambiguous.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a bit vague to be honest. Sugar Enthusiast points out Draper was paid not much less than Oscar, tens of thousands, but Draper is 3 years older. I don't know if he's 3 years older. He might be a year or two older, but you make a good point on the age because that was why Jack Silvani's compo wasn't that good as well.
NGA are Indigenous and multicultural, points out Trev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. But it's-
Multicultural. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's not purely multicultural.
Right.
It's there is like it's a nation. It's based on nation.
Who's come out of the Swans Academy?
Oh, that.
Heaney?
Heaney, Goulden, Mills,
Blakey.
Campbell, Blakey.
So how have they managed to snag all
that's
that?
It's
not
not
an
NGA.
NGA.
The northern teams don't have to have the cultural indigenous element
Because
to it.
they're not like football
They're not
states.
football states. So
Although-
everybody else has it based on the multiculturalism, but that they have it based on any. They can take anyone.
That's
Although
nuts.
Errol Goulden is Turkish. Fun fact.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway, the Sydney Swans received Malcolm Roses Jr. and pick 62 for giving up a third round pick, so 51 to Gold Coast and pick 69. Pretty cheap deal here for the Swans. And I guess we can sort of segue a little bit into the Swans. This has the potential to be a nice little off-season for them, actually. When we consider what their needs were at the start of the year and obviously this trade period, if they can land a Charlie Curnow, obviously we have to then discuss what does that cost. But getting a key forward, a cheap key back in Jaisa Wrong, and now a small forward, which is also a position of need. I actually think they're going about things the right way.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. If they land Curnow, I just can't seem to clear this like little bit of rustiness in my throat. It's really pissing me off. If they land Curnow, they've won the trade period.
Yeah.
You don't agree?
St Kilda?
No, just thinking about it. I was going to say St Kilda maybe, but see, the thing is, and we will talk about the trades to come, but if they lose a Hayward, a Florent, and a row bottom, you wouldn't think they'd lose all three, but I'd need to see what they lose first before
That's a good
handy
point.
role players to add, just like depth
Yeah.
pieces.
I just feel like they've targeted pieces specifically that they need
Yeah.
to make the team better. Whereas, like, if I was comparing it to St Kilda, who like definitely up there, of course, but maybe not necessarily. Like, they've kind of just gone for players and landed a bunch of players. Where Sydney, it's been a bit more methodical. I feel.
Druzy don't know academy, says Slats. Yeah, I'm starting to realise how like broken this system of academies and NGAs and compensation is.
The
I'm
only
learning
way
today.
to put it, like to put a line under it, it's extremely ad hoc and it changes constantly.
Yeah,
They're just moving it around all the time to appease. There's like clubs lobbying for different things.
Yeah,
And they just change it all the time.
we want this guy.
A few people saying we don't need Hayward, we won't lose row bottom, and Florent is not a Hayward level player. I would agree with that last point in particular, but we'll talk about Charlie Curnow a little bit later in the show. We have our first like big trade. I think this was it was 3 teams involved and then it became a fourth. So we had West Coast landing Brandon Starcevic, and they received pick 12 in the draft and 52. They gave up 16, 22, and 23. 22 was the priority pick, I think, or 23 was, doesn't matter, one of those two. And pick 16 was Hawthorn's pick. Separating that, we have the Lions receiving 16, 22, 44, and 50, obviously banking some points there. They give up Starcevic. They give up picks 19, 46, and 52. That's confusing because 19 I thought was West Coast. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that got to Fremantle. Fremantle got 19 and 23, and they gave up 12, 33, 44. 23 ended up becoming Judd McVie. So there's a lot to unpack there. Should we start with Fremantle perhaps and the landing? What did you think of giving up pick 12, getting 19 to 23 and landing Judd McVie with a second?
Pick City, bitch. Pick City, bitch.
It's 0 from 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty
stinky.
pretty spewing to give up pick 12, to be honest. Like, I feel like the gap between 12 and 19, like 12, you're going to more likely get like a high level prospect. And then in this draft, sort of post first round, it could really be anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty sad to see that go away. And I didn't expect to be involved in this trade at all. We ended up with pick 23, which became Judd McVie. Obviously there was sort of a gap between what Melbourne valued Judd and where we valued him. So we had to get a pick in that 20 range. So,
That's about right.
So what did Fremantle ultimately give up?
12, 33, 44, and 50.
Oh, well, basically 12 became 19 and they got McVie. So let's call it 19
Why
and
did
McVie.
12 become 19?
They split it for 19 and 23, and 23 went to
Okay.
Melbourne.
Yeah, gotcha. So they've come back a little bit from 23.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. It's about right, isn't it?
It's about right for McVie. I think that they did well. And I agree that you don't want to lose pick 12. I think the value of 12 moving down to 19 it's fairly significant, but it also probably had to happen, and you certainly didn't want to give up 12 for McVie. I even thought that at the time. I thought maybe 19 or 23 would have been right. Evidently 23 was enough. I think that's a good result for you.
These fans are pretty gutted about McVie leaving.
He's a really good player.
Yeah.
I think you definitely take McVie over what you could have got in the draft.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, when you said you were gutted that you lost pick 12, is there anyone that you particularly wanted?
I've just been hot on Farrow for some reason, but ever since speaking to you guys, you're like, yeah, he's good, but he's not like that elite.
Is it
And
because he's been compared to Hayden Young?
Yeah, and but now I think of it, we don't really need any halfbacks. I think we're pretty solid down there. I would have liked a bit of depth.
McVie, right?
McVie, yeah.
Yeah, true. I don't know. I just like bringing high-end talent through the door.
Do you?
Yeah.
I hate it.
Well,
Sucks.
we've just done it for a while now, and it's paid off, and you've seen how it's shaped our list. So to sort of move out of the draft order, it's to be like,
Yeah.
I get
But
you.
I
Like,
suppose
it's-
we're making a push for.
if this had happened 12 months ago, albeit that was a super draft or whatever, and it maybe would have made you more upset, but you would have missed Murphy Reid,
Yeah.
for example. And at the time when the trade went through, everyone would have been like, yeah, it's just a pick.
Mm-hmm.
But that pick could be a really good player
But
too.
we get Judd McVie. So
Yeah.
how did you find this trade, Jesse? You get Starcevic, pick 12. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, look, I think West Coast is trying to condense picks, move up the order, and potentially bank a few later. It sounds like Tyler Williams might actually attract a bid in the top. Someone said top 20. I hope that's not quite true. But, so we're maintaining some later picks to match potential bids, but also condensing our picks to get like 3 to 4 high-end picks. And I think with 1, 2, and 12, which is now 13, that's a good result. With Starcevic, the only real knock on it is, unfortunate pun there, but like his concussion history. I can't help my intrusive thoughts. I was like, don't say it. And then I was like, there's a pun. The only real downside is naturally the risk with his concussions. I feel a little bit better about that from a risk point of view when you consider the central part of this trade was a priority pick, which I think West Coast would have gone to the AFL and told them what it was going to be used for. I reckon West Coast would have had to have made a presentation to the AFL what we want as a priority pick and assistance and what we're going to do with it, and the AFL would have to sign it off. That's how I think it would have gone down.
Yep.
We get an established player. So the risk wasn't people saying that's poor by you. I wasn't trying to be funny. I just said it and I was like, oh no. We get the established player, and also I believe with West Coast's contract offered at Starcevic, it's a 4-year deal with a trigger. The AFL can actually cover contracts for concussion retired players for 3 years after they retire. I believe the AFL cover it. So if something happens to Starcevic, touch wood, obviously, his health is the biggest priority there. But, if something were to happen, the AFL would actually pay 3 years of that contract and then the trigger wouldn't come into effect anyway. So it was a pretty clever contract by West Coast. There isn't as much downside. So all in all, hopefully he becomes a premiership eagle in 12 months.
Yeah.
Premiership
Most
eagle.
likely, you'd have to say.
And then Brisbane, what do they get out of it? Picks 16, 22, and 44.
Yeah, they just basically bank points.
Who are they trying to get?
Well, they got Allen and Draper and
Hannibal.
Yeah,
Right.
Annabelle, sorry, in the draft. Yeah. So, that's going to be a good offseason. And they're naturally shedding Starcevic and Archie. Overall, I think with their free agency moves, we can see they're getting stronger. They're replenishing their midfield, and they can't possibly keep Starcevic and Archie, who presumably can get better money elsewhere. There's no chance that Starcevic...
Hannibal's such a good player too. He's probably been slept on a little bit in this draft.
Yeah, okay.
Just because he is an academy player, but he's I don't know, I would say he's some sort of a hybrid between Caleb Sarong and Josh Dunkley.
Oh, that's fat.
Yeah, he's a bigger body than Sarong. He's taller.
Bad kick squared.
Yeah, he's not an elite disposal by foot, but he's really good with his hands.
Yeah. I'm just shit stirring, truly.
I can't say anything today.
No, yeah.
We're really in good form.
Yeah.
Judd McVie, we spoke about, goes to Freo. Happy with that for pick 23. I was surprised how simple this trade was. You get pick, we get player. There was no third round pick swap bullshit, which is good to see. Sam Flanders ends up at St Kilda for pick 7.
Another very simple deal.
We were sort of alluding to this before. St Kilda want a good midfielder. Gold Coast Suns want a pick. So, is Sam Flanders worth pick 7? Probably not. But the trade gets facilitated and both teams get what they want.
Do you think it is a deal that will ultimately prove fruitful for St Kilda? We know that Gold Coast, what they get out of it, some salary, some midfield rotation space for their talent, and then naturally the points to match guys who are probably more talented. But from a St Kilda point of view, do you think he's a needle mover?
It just feels like they're paying overs in every deal at the moment just to, chase whatever they're chasing. Just strike them while the iron's hot.
Honestly, I suppose you could just do a legitimate 50-50 here and say, who would you rather, Sam Flanders or Dyson Sharp?
Yeah.
Or Oliver Greaves or whatever, but...
Yeah.
Sam Flanders is a very divisive player. Some people are really hot on him, think he's a gun, and then other people are he's an 8.
He's a
okay.
footballer.
Is he?
He's a footballer.
That's
No
what way.
What I mean by that is he's a
Those are rare.
he's a smart footballer, can find the footy really well.
Yeah.
And I think people always have a soft spot for that type of player. But he's not he wasn't getting in that team above. He's not better at what he does than Matt Rao. He's not better than Anderson. He couldn't get that Miller role either because of his lack of attributes at running and stuff like that. So are you paying maybe you're not paying overs in this draft though. That's my only other take on that.
I think if you come with a strategy to improve the best 22, so you could have added 4 players to their best 22 as it currently stands, and that was before anything else happens. You make a decision to trade out of the draft. It's relatively weak, and they add a midfielder as well. He wants some on-ball minutes, and St Kilda needs support in that position. And they've been re-imaging their midfielder over the last number of years. It wasn't so long ago. It was Seb Ross. It was Brad Crouch.
100%. Do you subscribe to the point too that how they've drafted fairly aggressively for players that probably have a lot of damage to them, athletically and stuff like that, like Wilson and Philippou and these guys, that they can take a little bit of a hit here on the super talent and just get a really good player that comes in and plays a role?
I think you nailed it. I think the longer we've talked about this particular deal, the more it makes sense. And what does a Dyson Sharp hypothetically or equivalent talent really do for St Kilda right now? They've drafted well for 4 years, and they're obviously trying to move up. So
and there's that NAS piece too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Get good before the contract ends.
Yeah. I had a point and it evaporated.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I want a one-word answer here, Dill. Do the Saints make the top 8 next year? One-word answer.
Yes.
I reckon they push the 8. That's not one word.
I reckon they push the 8.
Yeah. No,
I want to sit on the
I
fence.
reckon they're going to be 7 to 9 range. Saints.
I didn't get asked. Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm just here for my comedy and my backward shirts bit.
What do you think?
No.
Cool.
Ooh. Well, why then?
You said one word, Dylan.
Can I say why?
I don't think they'll bridge the gap between the teams that are better than them. I thought they were quite poor this year. That being said, Adelaide also looked diabolical 12 months ago. So I could be wrong, but I need time before I consider my full prediction. I'm not sure yet. I don't think so.
Fair.
So yeah, who do you see different topic, but who will slide out of the top 8 from?
Ooh. I haven't given this too much thought.
Collingwood is probably the one that jumps out at you.
I think-
GWS?
Hear me out here. I think the Crows could fall out of the 8. I said hear me out, then I'm like, I don't have anything to say.
Hear me out. They'll slide. I got nothing to say about it.
They were across, like looking at the numbers the other day, across 2025, they were they shot the lights out essentially
Yeah.
at kicking goals above expectation. Now that's because they do have some like elite finishers, Rankin, Rochelle, these types, Fogarty inside 50, Thilthorpe as well. So they could just do it again. But I do feel like they got found out a little bit in finals. They could fall back into the pack a little bit, and they won't get that. They won't get that immediate jump that they got from all their signings last year that sort of propelled them up. They'll kind of get figured out a little bit, and I feel like that could leave them.
So where do you think they'll finish?
I'll say 9th then for the purpose of this. I mean, I haven't gone over it to see exactly who's going to fall in and out, but I think they could be one that
They'll get a very
up.
tough draw as well.
They'll get a tougher draw, all of that sort of stuff. I think Sydney are a natural one to come in. They'll come in for sure.
There was a very clear there was 2 speeds to this season. There was the top 9 and the bottom 9, and there was a significant gap. With Sydney probably being the outlier in 10th there, they probably were midway between the two at their best. Like some of their worst was pretty poor, obviously.
But yeah, 3 games between 10th and 11th.
Yeah, but Sydney also like clicked into gear a little bit later. Having said that, I still think St Kilda, I think there was a big gap between them and the Bulldogs. To be honest.
I'm not sold on Sydney just yet. To be
You're not
honest.
sold on them.
Nah.
What if they get all these deals done?
Yeah, see
no.
that's gonna play a big part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on Dean Cox just yet.
That's fair.
Biased.
fair.
We'll move on to the next deal, which was St Kilda trades a future second round pick for Liam Ryan and a 2027 third round pick tied to West Coast, which I think is the first ever deal to involve a future pick. Probably fair on value. Am I happy this happened? I think that West Coast were probably too accommodating to let this happen and had really no incentive to do it. It's nice to have a strengthened hand in next year's draft because we didn't need more picks this year as such. St Kilda also didn't have them. I think this is a good move for St Kilda. I don't think he's going to like massively move the needle, but I think they'll be happy to have him in games where they've got enough supporting talent where he will be influential in patches and that will actually be a value add. Probably my concern with West Coast is that we are so poor at ground level, both in the midfield and in the forward line. And Liam Ryan was one of our most important players this year. And I think this was a bad move. But
so you're suggesting that you kind of, the 2 teams sat down in the meeting room and you guys basically said, what can we do for you?
Yeah, it
And then
feels
you
like
just
that.
did it.
I think we know. I think it was more like we looked after Liam.
Okay.
Who has been a great servant for the club, albeit, he's had some troubles along the way, but overall, he's done his time at West Coast and I don't blame him for wanting to move on. I presume there's also some personal issues, possibly, if you're going to move randomly to Melbourne, like me. Who does that? No, like it's not an issue on him, but like if he's contracted for another year, you're the worst team in the comp and you give away, your second highest goal kicker and have no plan to improve that part of the ground in any other way. I think West Coast was too accommodating here, but I think it could be a potentially nice little value add for St Kilda without being a massive move.
So what does your forward line look like next year? Or particularly your smalls?
Matthew always come on down.
He's your favourite player now, isn't he?
I actually feel bad for him because he's become a whipping boy because he was the product, obviously, of that trade.
Yep.
But his first year was... Yeah, it was not great.
He was never good. He wasn't good.
This would have to be a career worst season, I would say.
Probably.
Yeah.
But
anyway, in terms of, you got Waterman and Shanahan as the talls. You got probably Bailey Williams and maybe Archer Reid if they went both. But let's just say expand that and go smalls. You got Jamie Cripps he had a solid year this year and he will play one more. Then you're looking at Owies, Long, Brockman, and then
Fuck, that's
it's
stinky.
awful, isn't it?
Stinky.
And I'm concerned that West Coast haven't addressed it enough, and have lost Liam Ryan here.
Yeah. He's better than all of them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I mean, Cripps has had the better career, but he's also 34.
Yep.
So, look, there's Malachi Champion who could, find his way in. There is Tyler Williams naturally in this draft.
I like Tyler Williams.
So this is why I probably wanted a Doveston. We discussed that last week. I think he would be quite clearly above what we have.
I still remember doing a video where I was saying that West Coast need a small forward, like probably coming into the 2024 draft. And the fans were like, no, we don't. We've got so many of them.
I think, though, I understand both sides of that argument. Your point over time has won me over that, we don't have enough quality, and I probably have underrated that as a position to build your list around. I do think you're right about that. But with West Coast, if you only have so many high-end picks, you don't want to allocate resources to a position where you actually have some prospects. We also have an NGA academy pushing them out.
I also agree with you that you don't want to allocate resources to an area that gets starved. Because another area is not good enough to get them the ball.
Which is my logic with it. Like, I'm thinking, let's invest in the midfield, which we sort of have. It's questionable.
Yeah.
But anyway, overall, look, I'm happy for Liam. No hard feelings. But I don't know. I struggle to see what West Coast was really thinking with this particular move. It seems a little bit accommodating.
Yes.
Let's talk about Brody Myercheck, who has joined the Collingwood Football Club. We discussed
He's joined the Collingwood Football Club. He left the Collingwood
and then
Football
immediately
Club.
left again. Sorry. I'm rusty today, like every other week. Melbourne has picked up Brody Myercheck and received pick 71, and Collingwood has received pick 61, a 10-pick upgrade, and a third-round pick next year. Great move for the Demons, I think, from a cultural point of view and even an on-field point of view. This is a nice little win in an otherwise potentially quite tumultuous trade period. What are our thoughts on Melbourne first and their recruit?
Yeah, I think it's a solid pickup. I don't know how much he moves the needle for them in their push for whatever's next. You look at, he just doesn't really suit the age demographic, but he will help them win more games in the short term.
He's talking about, he said in an interview, he's like, Collingwood thought I was only going to play 2 more years. I got plenty of football left. And I was like, in 2 years, you're going to be 35. How much deeper than that are you thinking to play? Is he going to play till he's 38?
Do you think
That'd be incredible.
Do you think it's a factor of a player that didn't get drafted at 18 and hasn't played that high level, hasn't put the stress on his body of playing at the highest level until he was mid-20s?
Yeah.
Do you think he can play longer because of that?
That's
Possibly,
potentially a factor.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And to be fair, he's playing fairly well still.
But there's a lot of narrative that his body's busted up. A lot of Collingwood fans are like, it was a good time to let him go because he was just breaking down.
He was breaking down a lot. I think it was a specific injury, right? Like a quad or something like that kind of kept going.
Okay. I'm not sure the details of that.
Yeah. Someone's just said in the chat there, like a Jack Darling type pick. I think he's better than Jack Darling.
Shit's on Jack Darling.
And I get this from Melbourne's perspective in that they've had a really dysfunctional forward line for a long time.
Yeah.
They've got a new coach that's coming in. So rather than just dealing with the same players that have been playing that Simon Goodwin system time after time, they are trying to clear the decks a little bit so that when they educate this new system, it's going to be a little bit easier. Mycheck's an older player, but he can kind of bring some of that knowledge base from Collingwood. They've always had a very functional forward line. So I think it works and it's going to help them rebuild this next gen.
Side note as well, Stephen King has made some sweeping changes to a lot of things, but the football department as well. They got Matthew Scarlett and Jared Rivers, I think, have rejoined. Are you playing Clash of Clans?
No, an ad popped up on this side.
Yeah, sure it did. If I'm not mistaken, Matthew Scarlett and Jared Rivers, 2 players that were at Geelong. Obviously, Stephen King. This is something that, not to bring it back to West Coast once again, but McCoulter did not have that luxury at all. He just came over and was like, all right, nice to meet you all. Whereas, I remember when Simo came over, he brought over Brady Rawlings, and I think Peter Bell was involved, Drew Petrie, Sam Mitchell, Xavier Ellis later in the piece. But it's good to see that he's bringing over some quality football people. I think it really bodes well for Melbourne.
Yeah.
Love that.
You were talking about, you're happy to see Liam Ryan go. How'd you feel about my man, Campbell Chesser, who, we've spoke about on and off on this live stream this year? I was saying, God, he's shit. He was a bit of a whipping boy for me, and you backed him to the Holt, and then lo and behold, he joins the Blues.
Yeah, my point really was on Chesser that his whipping boy status, like he established a bad first impression and then improved, but like he stayed a whipping boy. But I think in the rankings at West Coast, he was actually nowhere near the bottom. I think it's a good move for Carlton. Am I confident he becomes a good player? I'm not certain, but I think he's a good chance of being a quality role player. And at pick 41, I think that's good business. It is a shit outcome for the Eagles, but that's what happens. They couldn't have done too much more with Campbell. He played just about every game he was available for. Struggled with injury. He was offered a contract. It's disappointing to see him go, but, you know, up yours.
Jesse said it took him like 3 takes on a True Eagle video to like send him off. What were the takes that you gave?
I can't. Like the first 3 were too brutal. I was like, I can't say that. I actually, no, it's not a big deal. I know he's not a bad person. Maybe
he's not a bad person.
No,
maybe.
it's all right. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood. It's been a tough week.
This one's really got to you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I don't know. It's just like 4 years of investment.
Yeah, and it's the first round pick as well. That stings.
We had the chance. Like it was still live that we could have redeemed it, or he could have redeemed himself. And I don't like. I understand with certain players like Oscar, I can understand, and Liam, I can understand. With Campbell, it's just like, yeah, I'll go play for a Vic club. I can see the temptation, but you know, it's not the most loyal move. But
Lou in the chat says Chesser will flourish at Carlton. We were talking about this before the stream, how like Liam Reedy and Campbell Chesser are like going to come in and solve Carlton's problems. It's like
they're so optimistic in the off-season, Carlton fans. Like they always cling on to this stuff. I reckon Jesse's pretty spot on though about Chesser. Like I think if you gave him like a really role-specific job to do, like he plays as a winger or something like that for Carlton or a high forward, he can, if he's got simple instructions, get him into the game. I think he'll do okay. But
he's got talent. I wouldn't say he's got high footy IQ. He's not someone who I think could thrive anywhere.
Yeah.
He's probably been at the hardest club to play for over the last 4 years.
Now he's going to the second hardest club to play for.
No, Carlton aren't there. They're not that bad.
Not that bad, but they'd probably be one of the top 4 hardest teams to play for in the AFL. Carlton.
They've got a good mid. I disagree. They've got a good midfield.
All right, so who are the hardest clubs to play for? West Coast, North?
Richmond.
Yes.
I would almost say it's harder to play for Carlton, given that Richmond, it's just like a growing...
Do you mean from a fan perspective?
Yeah, just the pressure and like the...
Yeah, I didn't see.
We were arguing different lines
Well, yeah, we're not just going to go to the ladder position.
Well, there's no pressure at West Coast. Hey, we took a mark.
No, but there sort of is because you're so discombobulated that it's like it would actually be hard to get a kick. Like someone like Matt Owies going from Carlton to West Coast, it's like the system is so much more harder to thrive in.
Absolutely.
So that's the sort of angle I'm coming at.
I think from the aspect of like plug and play as a role player, you'd rather go to Carlton though.
Oh, then West Coast.
Yeah.
100%.
West Coast could also easily be a whipping boy at Carlton.
Yeah, well, widescreen TV points out, come on, no one flourishes at Carlton. The amount of players that they've brought in, like Zach Williams, Sard's probably been pretty solid for them. Who else have they brought in? Chera, Akers.
Carlton have brought in
McGovern.
an unholy amount of players.
And
I've actually done a bit of a list.
Is going to flourish? Like, come on now.
Yeah. There's not many players that have actually improved as being pickups. Maybe George Hewitt's the major one that stands out.
Hewitt and Sard have been,
Has Sard improved?
I think
Sard's played good footy at Carlton.
I think he's been as best at Carlton, maybe. Oh, maybe it was at Essendon.
The other one,
he had some good times at Carlton.
I don't know if he got any better though. It was a big trade when he came over.
Yeah,
I reckon Nick Newman's probably the best one.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Where did Newman come from?
Sydney.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I've just got one thing to say. We had a comment pop up just before back on that the NGA stuff. DLT Anatomy said, my stream is a bit behind. I used to work for the Coates Talent League. To clarify regarding NGAs, you only qualify if you are Indigenous, African, Asian, which includes the Middle East. Central South Americans do not qualify.
So is this just like having a parent that's from there?
Yeah. Well, I think that comes into it as well. Like when you're submitting the paperwork, like you have to tick boxes, right?
I suppose if you can get a passport for the country,
Yeah, maybe if your parents both have Australian passports, no? I don't know.
I wonder why Toby Wan is...
Well, that surname, I have no idea. I don't even really remember what his face looks like, but that's...
what his face looks
like. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even begin to guess. But, like, the surname is there's something either Asian or European about that.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Feels Asian, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Greek?
Juan?
No.
No, not Greek.
No, I'm just looking at his face here. I'm like, it looks a bit Greek
Oh, you
features.
can't do it like that.
Nah.
I don't even know what his
Go
face
to etymology of
Etymology.
Go to etymology of Juan, and that'll give you a clue. Doesn't guarantee that that's where it's from, but have you put Juan?
Oh,
Scottish.
It's not Scottish. Yeah. No,
I mean, this is AI, but
that's
Middle
let me down.
English.
Middle English?
Yeah.
Surely not.
well, I mean, maybe it's on his mother's side is heritage.
Somebody tell us
Qualifies
where
him,
Toby
I don't know.
Juan is from. We need this.
You
Have you
go
got any
with
other
that.
trades there, Jesse? While we do
No,
this?
no, let's
Yeah,
stick with this
Scottish
for
and
a minute.
English roots.
Yeah. Interesting. I kind of assumed it would be something else, but anyway.
There was a small forward merry-go-round, a 3-club deal between Carlton, Gold Coast, and Port Adelaide. Carlton received Ben Ainsworth and a 4th-round pick. Good play to get. Feels a need for Carlton. Good
Yep.
trade. They give Corey Durden, so that they've instantly improved their small forward stocks there, but lose a 2nd-round pick. Gold Coast get the 2nd-round pick and give Ben Ainsworth. And then Port Adelaide. Classic Port Adelaide. Get Corey Durden in and a 2nd-round pick.
Is this Sam Durden's brother? I think he is.
Oh, is he?
I'm not sure
don't
about
assume
that.
last names, bro.
Yeah. What do we think of Corey Durden as a footballer?
Oh, God. He's the most Carlton to Port Adelaide player I've ever seen, bro. Oh,
Most Carlton to Port Adelaide player ever.
like just average small forward, turn and go to Port Adelaide. Like it
Yeah.
just makes so much sense. I saw this and laughed. Like
Yeah.
the recruiting strategy of Port Adelaide, they're just the most, over the last couple years, they have been the most facilitating, like easily facilitating team. I don't even know if that made sense in the
I think I
trade
know what you
periods.
mean.
Yeah.
As
know
in
what I mean? Like-
you can just bend them over, basically.
Yeah, like, oh, Jack Lukosius, come in. Yeah, well, what did they give up? Like a 1st-round pick?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
because
ta-
Houston went the other way.
yeah.
I think they got Berry and Lukosius basically for that.
Was that in the... Okay. Well,
It was
I don't know.
complicated. Joe Richards was also part of that.
Joe Richards,
Yeah.
like, they're paying him more than what he was sort of
Didn't they also
worth
take the salary of
of
Rory
Rory
Atkins?
Atkins?
Stop doing that.
So they're just they just make shit happen.
Yeah.
Not in the good way.
Is there a good way? Oh yeah, no, there is a good way. My mind went somewhere else.
Sorry, I'm just reading the chat here.
What's the
Corey says, Jesse, and then in inverted commas, there's something Asian about him.
I didn't say that. I said there's something. I said there's something about that name, something European or Asian.
Have we
It's
ever had
slightly
a more
different.
disjointed stream?
Yeah, this is shocking. Glizzy Hands points out Willie Rioli did retire, so. But there has been an appetite for that. Like obviously they got Joe Richards, and they were in the market for Owies last year. Bastards.
They didn't make that shit happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed a Willy replacement, says Dog 2 Rag in the
Yeah.
chat.
Don't we all?
Oh, yeah, he's not that good, is he?
Don't we all?
I mean, he's okay. He's probably just like AFL average, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Oh, he's
Below
okay.
average, Durden. Come
below
on now.
average.
Yeah. Always was better at Carlton than Durden was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Durden's younger though,
Yeah.
Okay.
but yeah,
I think he's like 23. I think Durden.
fair
so.
call. These clubs like Carlton and Port Adelaide and these sort of teams, like they just refuse to invest in small forwards. I know Port Adelaide did just get Berry in the draft, which probably goes against that, but other like
another
good
good
clubs have been doing it for years.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
that's true.
frustrating.
But we can talk about the other part of this deal, which was Ainsworth joined the Carlton Footy Club. I actually think this is a good move for
That
them.
is a good move. On his day, he is a very dangerous small forward. He's not that he's sort of like that nuggety type. So he's got a bit of power, explosiveness. I've been a big fan of his at Gold Coast. So I think that's a good get for Carlton.
I think they've, even though he's heavily contracted, I think his value in terms of, or his perceived quality has gone down over the last couple. Like I remember a couple of years ago, he was quite an important player for the Suns. And I don't know if that perception has changed because he went cheaper than I expected. But I think it could be that he's kind of like that higher connecting Spargo type, if you want to go there, which I think I think he's a nice touch. I think he's a good recruit for Carlton, considering it cost them, a future second and Corey Durden.
He was one of the biggest parts of that Gold Coast forward line pre-Walter Reed King, I feel like. It was like him and Sexton just like bossing it in there for a bit. Sexton kicked 6 on us one day.
Is he one of those players for you?
Yeah, it's just the mustache, bro.
He was good for like a little while.
He was very fantasy relevant. I'm not sure if he was ever actually good. Ainsworth, though, no, I agree with you. Good pickup. Offers a bit of like that dynamic in the forward half of the ground and will hit the scoreboard. I think there is a little knock-on effect that like Patrick Cripps did play this season a little bit closer to goal, which sort of unlocked George Hewitt as the first possession player a little bit more. So Ainsworth coming in, having that like bigger body, bit of physicality in the forward half as a smaller type player might just let Patrick Cripps just go back to that kind of beast midfielder.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he went away from that a little bit in 24.
And they never have had that high half forward connector. That's what they've always lacked.
Yeah.
It sort of allows Jesse Motlop a bit of freedom as well to play more to his strengths. So
yeah, I'd like to see what Jesse Motlop can do. I do feel like they're still missing Carlton like a lot of pieces. Like they don't have an A-grade winger like some of the better teams do in the competition. And it depends, whatever happens with. But if they can get good players back for Curnow, given the fact that they've already got Mackay sitting there, I don't really think it's necessarily that big of a loss for them. It's a loss. I'm not saying it's not a loss, but there's other positions they need. Structurally, they need positions around that more. It's just you got to get the right players in.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not many Charlie Curnows going around.
No,
but yeah. We'll get on to the trade rumours very soon.
Yeah, I might take a tinkle.
Take a tink?
Yeah, I love this.
We'll jump into the comments a little bit here. A lot of people want to know if you're Sam McClure's brother.
Is it the appearance? Would you look exactly like? No, there's 3 McClures in the media. I am one of them. I'm going to assert myself into that. There's Mark McClure as well. All 3 of us spell our surnames differently.
Who's Mark McClure?
He played for Carlton and he's MAC.
Oh, yeah, the guy that used to be on Fox.
Yeah, he's kind of grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really, these McClures in the media.
McClure? Is that the one? Is that Sam McClure?
No, Mark McClure.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's sort of that older, like grey-haired guy, and he's got that vibe of like, I don't know if you guys watch like the Stretford Paddock, like Andy sort of vibes from there, where he just comes on and rants about the players like weren't trying.
Andy Tate, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
All the McClures in the media are grumpy people. Grumpy people. And Troy McClure, distant relative as well.
Can we find where Toby Wan's heritage stems from? It's Middle English is all.
If anyone likes law, there's Supreme Court Judge Carmel McClure is actually related to me.
Are we like overthinking the last name thing?
No, that actually is.
Sorry, I'm losing brain cells this stream.
DLT Anatomy backs that up on the NGAs. Yes, athlete themselves has to be born overseas or at least one parent. South Africa is a small loophole regarding NGA. Interesting. Very interesting. Danny Azar says, you can keep your cocks, hate him and the pies.
What
does that mean? You can
Mason.
Hate him and the pies. Oh, is Mason Cox potentially making a move somewhere? Is that
they've said to explore your options to him.
Oh, that's it. But is there any links?
I don't think anyone wants to take him.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I feel like he'd be like a decent backup ruck, wouldn't he?
I think he'd find a home somewhere.
Yeah. He's not going to play every game, but wouldn't really need to. I don't know how the GWS, are going to secure Oliver. What do you mean you don't know how? They've only got to basically pay his salary, don't they?
Yeah, salary in a second rounder would probably get it done.
Yeah, I think they'll have plenty. They've got a first rounder, so
I don't think they'd give that up.
No,
given how desperate Oliver is to get there.
Yeah, but I think they're well equipped to be able to get it done. The only thing would be salary, like as long as they could fit that in.
But the narrative is Melbourne are going to pay for most of that, from what we're hearing.
That increases the pick then, right?
Yeah, true.
They'll be trying to get more picks back through the door. Makes sense because they could actually afford to do it, Melbourne. Everything Essendon. Toby Wan is South African heritage, I believe.
There you go.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? If it is, in fact, like Scottish or English, that surname.
Mm-hmm. Toby Wan is South African. Thank you,
somewhat
everything
of a British
Essendon.
colony down there. Do you think Port could get Leek Alia?
we sort of discussed this early in the piece. Port or the Crows? Sorry.
Yeah, we discussed the Crows.
Yeah, I don't
you
know where he's going to land now. It's weird how he doesn't play consistent footy at the Giants.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
I don't think it's weird at all because
Well,
they've got
Taylor,
Sam Taylor,
Iden.
Buckley, and
Buckley.
Iden. So they've got 3 players that are just better than him
Yeah.
at this point. I don't think it's. I mean, he has played. When one of those guys is out, he's the next man in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
they've got enough key.
they just got. Yeah,
Stocks.
they've probably got the best defense in the comp as far as from a tall perspective.
Yeah.
Oh.
Heath Sheehan says, any relation between Ash Johnson, Zach Johnson, Matthew Johnson, and Aiden Johnson? Yes, they're all twins.
Nice.
Twins.
That's a very Jesse joke. Well done.
Yeah,
I'm really rubbing off on you. That's good. Corey says, hi, I'm Jesse McClure. You may remember me from such movies as I Need a Tinkle. That's good.
B-Dub says AFL is trying to focus more on Chinese and Indian communities. Yeah, I think the AFL is kind of targeting a lot of different groups. I mean, we're even the New South Wales and Queensland as well to grow the game.
I'm trying to think of a player with... Oh, actually, no, there's several. I was going to say, who are the Indian heritage? Elijah Hewitt?
Nahas?
No, he was Lebanese.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
thought he was Indian for some
But
reason.
Clancy Pearce and Daniel Kerr. Daniel Kerr and Sam Kerr. Not that she plays
Oh,
AFL.
do they have Indian heritage?
Yeah, Roger
Okay.
Kerr is Anglo-Indian, I believe.
Interesting.
Or, yeah, Anglo, I think so. But, yeah, fun fact.
Yeah. But obviously you just
may be
get
more.
from like communities from Africa, some places in Asia, obviously, like they're less likely when they migrate to Australia to play a native Australian game, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the NGA comes from. It gives an incentive to the clubs
Yeah.
to go after players from those communities and bring other players into the game. So it makes sense. It's the same with what we've talked about with the Queensland and New South Wales academies as well. It's just like incentivizing that, but also keeping the draft, like the sanctity of the, what do you call it? Competitive spirit. What's the word that we usually say for the draft?
Integrity.
Fairness.
Yeah, integrity we'll go with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben McNeese, probably the best player to come from an Indian background. I don't even know who that is.
No, probably the
From
best.
everything Essendon.
Jai Saxoner is Indian. Yeah.
Who's that? Sorry, the
He's
Collingwood player?
yeah, he's Collingwood NGA
Yeah.
in the 2025 draft.
Okay. Alex Rance's grandfather was Indian. This is a fun fact. I find this stuff interesting, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Andrew Embley, Burmese.
Burmese.
Yeah, that's one people know about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I remember back in the day, like the only player, like when I was growing up watching football, I feel like the only player that had some sort of a background outside of Europe was Peter Bell.
Yeah, South Korean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Jordan McMahon is another one from Heath Sheehan.
Yes.
A lot of Indian Australians play cricket because you
Yes.
actually see like them coming up the ranks in like the Australian under-19s team. Like there's a lot of Indian Australians that naturally, because of the cricketing culture in India.
It's just a bigger jump to play like
Yeah,
a
AFL.
random variant of football, isn't it?
Yeah, that
like
makes
even
perfect
like
sense.
I'm sure a lot of people from Africa and Asia also play soccer. If that's kind of what they've been
Yeah.
exposed to.
Dylan Patterson is half Thai.
Okay.
David Ellard was both related to Rance and part Indian.
Don't know who David Ellard is.
Played for Carlton,
Okay.
I reckon, during that like same era that Judd played there.
I feel like everyone's Indian.
Yeah, it's actually got a lot now. They're really racking them up.
What trades are happening,
Yeah, no.
boys?
Let's stay on this. Yeah.
This is great.
Speak on Indian footballers.
B-Dub says, boys, you live in Melbourne. Do you reckon the AFL is doing everything to grow the game in new ethnic communities by losing to soccer and rugby and the preferred games?
Yeah, we have an opinion on that, given we live in Melbourne.
Yeah, like I suppose what they're trying to do is like they're handing it over to the clubs. Like that's what this NGA stuff is.
Yeah.
You're giving it to the clubs and you're incentivizing going after it, and you hope that they do the job well.
I mean, I can't comment on like how much are they losing talent to soccer and rugby and cricket for that matter, but we have definitely seen more players of various backgrounds join the AFL. So like it's obviously having an impact.
For sure.
But I don't know. Joel Weston, Sri Lankan. Jordan Baker was Sri Lankan as well from West Coast. Anyway,
I'll answer this draft question just to
Sure.
pick it off here. Hilsey says, thoughts on West Coast drafting Dersmer at 1 and then Roby at 2. with where we are at, I think Duff Tytler makes no sense. Can get a mature age ruck later once we improve. Keen on Doveston later too. Do you, given it's West Coast, do you want to take that? What's your opinion, Jesse?
Straight off the bat, Dersma and Roby at 1 and 2 is probably my preference right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it's got.
Do you want to trade that pick?
Yeah, probably. So I don't. I wouldn't say that's locked in. I actually think it's less than 50-50 if you ask me right now. But you don't go anyone other than Dersma at 1, and then at 2, it's a choice. I actually reckon it can only be of 4 players: Dersma, Roby, Sharp, and CDT. I can't see any other player being a candidate for top 2 picks.
I'm
West
very
Coast.
strong on West Coast should take Dersma and Sharp.
Yeah, right.
I've come around to that. Like if I'm pretty much any mock draft I would do, it would be those 2 at the top end. That's if they hold the pick, obviously.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I would rather go the upside of Roby and pick a Sharp-like player later in the draft. That's my preference.
That's fair.
But
Yep. I don't think you're picking Sharp though for his likeness anymore. You're not picking like you could pick a Sharp-like player, someone that plays similar to him, but I think you're getting him for more of like the leadership qualities and the intangibles.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that we go down that route, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's funny how we've swapped on that because I was very anti-Sharp early in the season.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
I've completely swung.
I mean, I always saw the logic for Sharp, and Roby didn't exist to me probably 4 months ago when we did this.
Nor to me.
Yeah, true. All right, let's talk about some trades for week 2. The ones we can expect, we'll work through player by player and just, I suppose, some general expectations. There's a few players in limbo. There's also some pick swaps that may or may not happen, but probably will. Let's start with Christian Petrarca. We pretty much expect this will get done. Melbourne are asking for picks 7 and 8 from the Gold Coast Suns, according to Tom Morris. Discussions are ongoing, but I believe the Suns would do this deal on the proviso they receive an abundance of later picks to help match bids. This would be quite fascinating. As an Eagles fan, I'm obviously hoping West Coast can trade for pick 8, which means that if Melbourne receives 7 and 8, that kind of takes that out of the window. I have heard a big footy rumour, big disclaimer. Melbourne would then also potentially look at trading up for pick 2. So maybe that could still work.
Ooh.
But 7 and 8 also does seem steep for Petrarca. Do you agree with that?
I disagree.
Why'd you say it with such a weird upward inflection?
Because I can see both sides.
Yeah.
I can see why Melbourne have such a high asking price for the biggest star at their club, or one of like the best players they've ever had. So they're in the driver's seat. Petrarca's requested the trade. Gold Coast want to facilitate it, so drive the hard bargain. Is he worth that much? I think a year and a half ago, absolutely. I think he just goes to the Gold Coast or wherever he plays his footy at a new club, he's going to thrive, especially at a club like Gold Coast that's playing so well. So, as a Gold Coast person, you wouldn't like to give up those picks. So, given that, the academy bids, it'll make it a lot harder. But
the thing is, though, that's what I'm saying with the Gold Coast Suns. Like the picks, what you call the picks aren't connected to players like they are for other clubs. So they're just points. So if Melbourne can appease them with, what do they got here? 24, 28, 42 would be picks that have points, I assume.
Yeah, you're right.
If they can get even like some more picks in the door through other deals that they do, has that even factored in the Spargo pick? That's probably 42.
Yeah, I reckon it's 42.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking through this. But
Yeah.
if they can appease the Gold Coast Suns with points, you're not really trading 7 and 8.
Yeah.
You're just trading the equivalent points value because they already know that they want Patterson and Hewland at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
They've got other guys like Adensil. I think they could let those guys slide.
Yeah.
Who's the other one? Murray's another one that's in there, and Kobe Coulson as well. I don't think they're going to be desperate to get those guys, but as long as they can get Hewland and Patterson, the pick numbers do not matter.
I totally agree with you. I think there's no real reason why Gold Coast would balk at this, because if they don't trade 7 and 8 to Melbourne, 8 is going to go to someone else like a West Coast. So what would be the difference between trading with Melbourne and West Coast? The only thing is, if there is truth to the idea that West Coast have some leverage with the idea of not bidding on either Hewland or Patterson with picks 1 and 2. Because if that is a serious consideration for the Gold Coast Suns, and we know this is technically against the rules to include this
They
in
do
the
it all the time.
but it could happen. And that this is what would incentivize Gold Coast to trade with West Coast. And if West Coast could then like bid on Hewland and Patterson at 1 and force the issue. And if they end up with Dylan Patterson, like I don't think West Coast are going to be complaining too much.
Yeah. I mean, historically speaking, most teams don't bid at 1, but
Yeah.
I'd suggest that West Coast would bid at 2 for Yuland.
They would bid exactly where it would be a pain point for Gold Coast. If Gold Coast were
Yeah.
to piss off West Coast here, and
Yep.
we know West Coast are nice guys, but it's still, on the cards here, I reckon.
Well, this is a way that you can you can kind of do it a little bit not as invasively.
Yeah. Explain.
Oh, like in an actual deal, you can invasively you can do it invasively in a deal, but they can do this a bit more passively.
Yeah.
By just bidding.
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
player.
Exactly. And no one will really bat an eyelid if West Coast bid on Yuland and Patterson. And, obviously there's a go home factor, but that's true of Dersmer and Roby and whoever else West Coast look at. So
Yeah.
I reckon we'd expect West Coast would play hardball at the draft rather than maybe at the table.
What do you
at the
think
trade
is holding
table.
up this Petrarca trade? Because he requested a trade a week ago, or another week on now. Is it the Clayton Oliver deal? Like he wants GWS.
I can't imagine that's too related. I think this would just be posturing. And the bigger the deal, the more you wait to the end. Melbourne have
But
the
do they-
contract, but I reckon they do want to trade Petrarca.
Like what I said though, could the picks that come through for Oliver be them a make
Yeah.
weight
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
in the Gold Coast?
I
deal for
reckon we're
Petrarca?
talking one late pick though. For
Yeah, I know,
Oliver,
but it
yeah.
still will be like
Yeah, if it's got points attached, which I think this Giants might have like mid-30s pick,
35.
35. So that would be
Where do the points become irrelevant? Is it after 40?
54. I
I'll
reckon.
tell you. Hang on.
I reckon it's 54.
It is 54. You're correct.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
I mean, I guess Gold Coast will push for 7 and 15, which could be acceptable to Melbourne. So it's going to be either 7 or 15 or 7 and 8, in my opinion.
Pat Kaz says, I reckon the Petrarca trade will fall through. Explain.
That would be terrible.
I don't think Melbourne wanted to fall through.
No.
I think because
No.
Melbourne were the ones who gave them the green light to look around. And they're obviously looking at their list position and trying to cash in now. So as much as they do hold the leverage from that point of view, they could probably wait out Gold Coast and get the right deal. But while that's true, I think Melbourne might be a little bit flat if they don't have a good draft hand this year.
Definitely. Jamari Ugle-Hagan completed a medical at Gold Coast last week and met with Damien Hardwick, Craig Cameron, and the Suns leaders in Carrara.
This one looks like it. So we're talking about trades we expect to happen. This will probably happen. I'd reckon it'd be a token pick.
Great get.
Yeah, because as we said earlier, the Dogs have actually been, well, it was reported the Dogs have been exploring ways to sever the contract with Jamara. So that implies like if he could get, the thing is actually if he's, as I said earlier, if he gets traded, Gold Coast have to accept the contract, whatever contract he's on, which I think is somewhat substantial. It's not $2 million a year, but a few years ago he did sign a reasonable extension. So do Gold Coast trade for him and absorb the salary? Do the Bulldogs, are they willing to try to pay some of the salary? That will be the details here, which will be interesting to see how it plays out, and it will determine his cost, who pays what. But I think we can expect this to happen. He's had a medical there.
The only thing with this Jamara trade is for me, I don't really see, as far as like bringing in talented players into your team, I don't see why Gold Coast need to absorb this risk. It just seems an odd one for me. Like I know there is potential that he could slightly elevate their performance, but when you've got Walter and Ethan Reed sitting there who...
Ben King as well.
Ben King's already there, right, to
Yeah.
lead the line. Like obviously you bring in a slightly more ready-made player in Jamari Ugle-Hagan, but there is significant risk attached to him, you'd have to admit.
Yes. Worty points out, unless they're worried about King leaving, I do think King is probably going to end up in Victoria. Next year, he becomes a free agent.
Do you really? You reckon he'd
Yeah.
walk away from the Gold Coast?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah. I mean, ask me again in 12 months. Obviously, we're like the landscape. If Gold Coast are
Yeah.
playing in a grand final next year, maybe not. But I think, he has been a subject of a lot of Victorian interest for some time and he keeps signing these 2-year deals. I think it's possible he ends up at Collingwood next year.
But I feel like he's got to, there's probably no more exciting, football project in the AFL right now than the Gold Coast Suns.
No, it's
Yeah.
You'd be walking away from that. That's a lot to walk away from.
Yeah.
That's true. But I mean, Starcevic just did it.
Yeah, but he's won 2 premierships.
Yeah. there's a
Yeah.
difference.
Okay. I suppose you're right.
Um,
I reckon there'd be other examples though of a player who left at the wrong time.
It's possible, but
Yeah.
no, you could do it in retrospect too. But this is only going one way.
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
Gold Coast
yeah.
Suns.
No, you
Yeah,
make a
for
fair
sure.
point. You make a fair point. There are a chance to keep him, but it's a big commitment for him to, because if you're a free agent, you're talking about a big contract he'll sign.
Yeah.
So he's committing 6 years to the Gold Coast Suns, and if there is any appeal for him to come home and play, Potentially probably not with Max, but at least, in the same postcode.
It was like when Rao was rumoured to leave Gold Coast throughout the year. Like, why would you like a player like that leave? Like such a pivotal part. Like Ben King has been their best forward this year. It doesn't make sense for him to just be like, all right, we got the Gold Coast at this point. Now I'm going to go and play for. Even if it is Collingwood, like it just seems like a bit of a cop out. But yeah, that's neither here nor there.
I don't care about it from the perspective of like he's walking out on the club. Like they'll be fine, but I care about it from the perspective of like why wouldn't you want to from your professional integrity? Like why would you not want to win stuff?
Yeah. Are you playing to win or are you playing to play the G and hang out with the boys?
Yeah.
Speaking of Clayton Oliver.
I just wanted to make one more point on Jamara. It's been weird that like the Dogs have said like, they're trying to sever the contract and like, there's been a lot of noise about him, but nothing's come out about what's actually happened with him. Like hasn't been any real news. It's just been rumours. And like, he's sort of been fronting up to the media like pretty just like well-spoken and like, I don't know if he's turned a corner. He's said he's had a lot of loss in his life this year. So I don't think there's all that much risk. I think like he's a young dude, got lost in the smoke a bit, and he can reset at the Suns. That's all I have to say.
My only point, like I probably agree with everything that you've said. I don't disagree. It's more why do Gold Coast with where they're at specifically need to absorb that risk, like even any risk?
Yeah.
Because they've got such talent on their list already. I get it from a perspective of like West Coast, probably a bad example, but like some mid-table team like Melbourne who really need a forward, I think like it's kind of worth the risk for them on some level. But the Gold Coast Suns who are like, they don't need more talent. They've got it. It's already there.
Unless you feel like it's not a big risk if you have really strong cultural foundations at your club. And maybe Gold Coast feel they're there now that Hardwick's there. It does feel like a pretty culturally sound place, more so than it ever has.
Totally.
So maybe from that point of view, Gold Coast is a better club to go to than a Melbourne. Not that I know you were just coming up with an example.
No, I agree with you. But it's sort of like if you don't need the talent, I almost wonder why there's even any point risking it at all. But fair play to them. Yeah. They know more than I do about their culture.
Yeah, Clary was whining and dining, eating some Subway cookies on a boat with GWS last week. We spoke about that last week. That seems to be all, like got the go ahead pretty much.
That seems like it will happen.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what the Giants are going to offer, and it'll be 35 or 37, you'd think.
He did also say that he likes Collingwood better than the D's when being interviewed in his car this week.
He had a week, didn't he?
Yeah. Haven't we all?
Had that. Mitch Cleary interview at the airport. Like, that was just funny, wasn't it?
Well, didn't end up going to America, did he?
Oh, didn't he?
Didn't end up in Kansas.
Where'd he go? He just went to Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think is he still up there? I don't know.
No idea.
He's definitely not in America because he was getting interviewed in a car a couple of days ago.
Yeah, right.
So,
interesting. I didn't really think about that part.
Yeah, we sort of have spoken about this. Obviously, Melbourne is still going to absorb a bunch of the contract, which will determine what pick the D's get. So that'll be a good move. I think he complements that midfield pretty well. But you were saying last week how he's sort of like a similar player to Tom Green. I don't think he is.
Don't you?
I think Tom Green's more, I don't know, a bit more powerful and like big bodied tough on the inside. Clayton Oliver's more of like
You've just explained exactly what Clayton Oliver is.
I don't think Clayton Oliver's that like tough and like big. He doesn't seem like a massively big body. He seems more like slick.
He's got the quicker first step.
Yeah, it's just a bit.
Yeah,
I feel like Tom Green's more just like explosive power, broad shoulders type player.
I think as far as like comparing two players in the AFL though, like understanding that no one's exactly the same, they're fairly similar.
Yeah, I think Clary's a bit more fleet of foot.
Probably at his best. Like he would have been at his best for sure. Like Clayton Oliver's highest level has been higher than what Tom Green's is. But they are, I mean, they're both sort of doing the same thing. I guess the argument from GWS's perspective is that they've lost lots of midfield depth in there. So Clayton can kind of do what Tom Green does and maybe a little bit more as well, you know, on the side as far as like being like the next guy in. I wouldn't have thought though those two would be starting that many centre bounces together.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair call. I just hope it goes well for him and he can get back to his best up at Sydney.
Clayton Oliver is going to look so orange in that kit.
Rumour has it that Mitch Cleary is hiding in the closet at Clary's Kansas hotel from wording. Collingwood flew up to Sydney to meet him. Hard to get a hold of.
Would you prefer, like as a
You
neutral
look like a
fan,
super duper.
would you prefer Clayton going to Collingwood or to GWS?
As a neutral.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there'd be more storylines come out of Collingwood, but I think that would just be terrible for him. I think he needs to get out of the Melbourne footy
Really?
bubble. Yeah, get him out of Melbourne.
I'd rather see him at the Giants.
Yeah,
Do you think the geography, like, I know we say stuff like that, get out of the footy bubble. What do you reckon that does for him?
doesn't get followed around by Mitch Cleary at the airport.
True.
Probably just not getting. The only big difference I can think is not getting recognised everywhere you go.
Yeah.
To what extent that is valuable, well, I suppose it's entirely subjective.
Yeah.
Like you'd love it, I'd probably hate it.
What,
Getting recognised, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you'd
Yeah,
love
bro.
that.
Sick.
The way you wear those little outfits. That's not making it.
One little outfit.
Oh, he's acting shy.
As a mate says, Giants midfield definitely gets boosted with Oliver.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we sort of agree in different ways.
Braden Fiorini going to the Bombers.
Braden Fiorini is indeed going to the Bombers. Again, we're just moving through trades that are likely to happen in the coming week. This has just been a bit of a hold up because I think the Bombers are keen to use future picks and the Suns want current picks because both teams are dealing with academy players, prospects, right? So Essendon also need it to be a trade even though it was a free agent because they have they didn't want to dilute the Sam Draper compensation. So they've traded, they're going to trade for Fiorini. This will get done. How excited should Essendon be about their academy prospects this year? It's Adam Swade and somebody else.
I thought you were going to ask me about how excited should they be for Fiorini, and I was going to be like, not that excited. I think Swade, particularly Swade, he's going to give them a lot. Like he plays in a really aggressive way, tenacious. He's pretty quick off the mark. Didn't test particularly well at the combine, but he plays really fast, and he'll give them that like high forward that they probably haven't had, and can kick goals when he goes closer. Hussein's a little bit more, like he's not as good of a runner, so he's not in the game as much. He's more of a deep forward, and I don't really think he's like quite high enough caliber to move the needle. So I think he'll take a little bit longer. He'll probably have to play a bit of VFL first, but I think Swade is one that can come, pretty much walk straight into that team. Player comparison, if you want one for Swade, Dion Prestia, but more of a forward than a mid.
Walked past him at the butcher the other day, Dion Prestia.
I was going to say Adam Swade.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was like, that's going to,
Yeah.
but yeah,
I
no,
have a pair
it's
of suede
exciting.
boots.
At the same time, where Essendon's picks lie, they're going to be able to get ahead of that, I think, fairly significantly. I reckon Swade's like a 20, 25 on the draft board. So that'd be their highest, and they'll get picks ahead of that as well.
Cool. Rowan Marshall, we should expect this deal. Well, actually, I was going to say we should expect it. There's absolutely not
off?
something we should expect. I don't think it's absolutely off. I won't believe it's off until the trade period is over. But yeah, I think the Saints have basically dug in around this, and the Cats have offered their first round selection, which is 19, something like that. That is naturally like then they offered that for Curnow, who we'll talk about shortly, which implies that they didn't think they could get Rowan Marshall. Then there was also this little rumor bob up that the Saints believe they can get Sam De Koning this offseason.
Oh, I
That's
saw this.
Absolutely a play that you would turn your head for Rowan Marshall, I would have thought, just in terms of like that or pick 19.
Has someone just done the filled in the dots here and kind of gone, Sam De Koning, TDK's just gone to the Saints, Marshall to the Cats.
Clear.
Like,
That's possible, or if the Saints cheekily asked the question and then
Maybe.
been quickly
it'd be
rebuffed.
a great one for the Saints, wouldn't it? To move Marshall out in a position that they've just filled.
Yeah.
It does make sense in the fact that, like, I would say that Marshall is more needed for Geelong than what Sam De Koning
100%.
is. Just in that, specific position.
Geelong should be aggressive trying to get Marshall, I reckon.
But what if that stopped the Charlie Curnow trade?
You'd have to prioritise Curnow.
Yeah, you
But
would.
surely there's no chance that happens. We will talk about the Curnow thing shortly.
Yeah.
But I would. You'd prioritise Curnow, wait for the no, and then revisit the Saints for Marshall. But then you could. The Saints could then, in theory, still get League-Alia. I'm guessing now there is no way they can rebuild that bridge. But if they got like pick 19, could they flip that for Alia and something else? Like
A lot could happen with that, but also just nothing could happen.
Yeah.
Nobody moves at all.
Yeah.
Marshall just stays at St Kilda. Do you think that's difficult now, though, for the Saints to hold Marshall, given that they've aggressively kind of pushed for him to leave?
Have they pushed for him to leave?
I mean, they put him up on the table. Not,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said aggressively pushed, but they've definitely floated him as trade bait.
I actually thought it was more Marshall pushing to get out than the other way around. That was the way I recalled it.
Probably was, actually.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think it's Marshall saw the writing on the wall and, sort of
The writing on the wall being that
TDK is coming in.
TDK's coming in,
Yeah.
but they're talking now like with this 5 interchange bench and like the changes to the ruck rules, like how important having 2 rucks is actually going to be going forward.
Maybe, but there's also going to be less stoppages,
What with the throw in?
like the last touch. Or
I suppose with both of those players, they are also more than just stoppage players. Though,
Yeah,
aren't
they're
they?
good around the ground, both of them.
Both of
Yeah.
them.
So yeah, no, I think Rowan Marshall should be highly sought after by Geelong, and St Kilda should do everything they can to keep him.
Do you think Marshall could walk back into St Kilda though and have his head down a little bit?
No, not at all. I don't think so. I reckon he just explored his options. He's always been pretty happy at St Kilda. Pretty important cultural piece for them. Him and TDK were like training at Pulse 8 in, I think it's Moorabbin, down Moorabbin way. Like the day after TDK got traded and Marshall requested a trade last
And
week.
Marshall tried to poison him.
Yeah. Well, they seem to be bros. So
Yeah.
I think it's good either way. Rowan Marshall's in a great position here. If he stays at St Kilda, it's an exciting project. And if he goes to Geelong, he's straight into a grand final side that needs ruckman. So win-win for Rowan.
We just got a super chat here from Lewis. Excuse me, $5. Thank you very much. He says, finished work. Jesse, I asked last week if West Coast should trade picks 1 or 2 for futures for next year. Now, what about trading our futures back into this draft? I think that we should keep our powder dry in terms of futures. There's a stronger draft next year, particularly at the top end. So I don't know. I also feel like we have the pieces we have at the moment to move up as it is. I'd say we get in, draft early, dip out fairly early, match some bids later. So on that logic, I would probably hold those picks. However, if St Kilda's second rounder that we just acquired through the Liam Ryan deal gets asked for and it is possibly central to a trade for a high pick this year, I'd probably explore that. But I'd keep our own picks.
There's also a great comment here from Jay Dunn who says, Druzy, how would you feel if Freo merged with the Bulldogs to create the West Fremantle Doggers? If we get the bond, great.
There is no West Fremantle. That's the ocean.
Oh, that's funny.
Maybe that's part of the joke.
All right.
Maybe that's part. Can you just go back to that West Coast thing? How would that, like, if you traded for futures, how would that look theoretically?
I think the idea is that I've saw this floated would be like if we split 2 down, we'd move to say 5 or 6, but like strengthen next year as well.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot in that for me, but if we're if West Coast is saying we're taking Dyson Sharp, then maybe we do move down to 5, bank another second rounder next year or something.
Yeah.
I get that. It's not something I would seek out.
Makes total sense. Hillsy says here, Dylan, keen to hear why you think Sharp for West Coast. Yesterday, Matt Clark said they weren't into Jack Steele based on how they are trying to play. Those two similar to me.
Bulldogs.
Interesting. I feel like Jack Steele is kind of like Dyson Sharp in a way, but like it's too. I think it's too hard to say either or with those two players, just because Jack Steele's like over 30. He's at least 30, isn't he?
Turn 30 next year.
Okay. He's in that older age bracket. So I would say that West Coast's interest in Jack Steele would be more based on age profile. And I reckon what he's thinking is I don't want to carry too many of that type of player, more so than because pretty much every team has a first possession stoppage player that's maybe not the best on the outside, which is what Matt Clark presumably is talking about here. So Sharp could be your guy. I feel he could be like a top liner in that position.
Yeah, on the Clark and the way we're trying to play, it does feel like West Coast is not super focused on winning the stoppage. Like there's a little bit of Richmond-esque about that, because remember Richmond in their peak of their powers, like would lose the clearance count, but like be able to turn the ball over and through their chaos ball win games. West Coast is starting to, like, as bad as they are, they're starting to show that they're trying to be that at least.
Yeah, if you're looking at the game from a purely data analytics lens, you score more from turnover.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you can afford to lose stoppage, but there is a tipping point where you become too poor at stoppage,
which is where we're at.
Yeah, exactly, and you get scored against really heavily. So
yeah, for sure.
But there's no team in the AFL that doesn't have a player that can't win stoppage. So like it's really more about volume of those players. Like, how many have you got? And I think when he's talking about Jack Steele, he's not saying we don't want a player like a first possession player. He's probably saying that we don't want Jack Steele specifically, and just saying it a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I also think Steele probably knocked us back. I reckon we probably tried. I don't think Steele would be willing.
And Matt Clark said, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah, and he's like, actually, we don't like that kind of player.
Back to trades. What is going on with Zach Merritt? This feels like one that's just going to go right down to the wire. Essendon wanting to keep him, obviously, but they'll be driving a hard bargain. And you already know that they're asking for players as well. They're not just going to go, yeah, give us a few first-round picks, future first-round picks, whatever. They're going to be asking for your Nick Watsons, Mitch Lewis's, these types, maybe even Cashadir. I don't know what they're asking, but they're going to be asking a high price for their 6-time BNF captain and one of the better midfielders in the comp.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to get those players. They're well within their rights to make that stance. So they can make those demands and know they won't be satisfied.
Why not? Like, if you're asking for a club's captain, sure, and they're like, all right, we want 2 first-rounders and a Mitch Lewis. They're like, oh, no, you're asking too much.
Well, I don't think that's... Like, Mitch Lewis is probably not one of those untouchable players, but Nick Watson is. Depends like if you tar him with the same brush. Cole Shadir probably is not tradable. Mitch Lewis is my guess.
But if you're asking for a club's captain and someone of the caliber, you've got to expect that back, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, Hawthorn they've asked the question. They'll wait and see what the price is, and then they'll make a value judgment. And I would say that would be over what a Zach Merritt, who's 30 years old, is worth.
I reckon you undersell Zach Merritt a bit.
No, I just don't think it's a good move to move for any player who's 30 with that kind of...
They're in a premiership window, and they need that exact type of player. It's like you're talk about trading away for like a Dan Rioli because they needed Dan Rioli earlier on, or a Sam Flanders. It's like, we are going to trade these picks and maybe a player to make a premiership push this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's all valid, but it helps to be specific. I wouldn't trade 2 firsts and a Nick Watson. I wouldn't even trade Nick Watson at all.
What, Zach Merritt for Nick Watson?
That's brave from Hawthorn.
That's crazy. There's no way Hawthorn would do that.
Yeah, I think
it never happened. But value-wise, and where Hawthorn are now, I think you would. Anyway, that's a stupid hypothetical. But
I don't see it personally. I would back in Watson for a longer period of time to take the risk on. I think Zach Merritt seems more risky.
That's a silly hypothetical.
It was a silly hypothetical. You very silly man with your little outfits. Look, I think what would this look like for Essendon to say yes? So I think it was Andrew Welsh has come in and made a really strong stance that he's not going to move on. Zach Merritt is going to stay with the club, but I think every club will actually have their price. And I like Jay Clark's suggestion. He said 2 top 12 picks could get it done. And I think that was his idea, but bearing in mind that the board of Essendon have to approve of it and sign it off, which does seem like unlikely at this point, but you never know. If Hawthorn already has pick 9, they could get one from Carlton as well, because Carlton could potentially, this is like the big flow-on effect, like if Carlton end up trading Curnow, have 10 and 11 amongst other things, they have no value for those picks.
Because of Harry Dean.
Because of Harry Dean, exactly. One option for them is to trade it into the future with Hawthorn. So Hawthorn's future first comes in, a couple of second-round picks, and then suddenly picks 9 and 10 could get the deal done for Zach Merritt.
The difficulty there for Carlton would be, do you want to do a deal with a team that, like Hawthorn, who finished top 4 this season, top 4 based on prelim final, and is getting Zach Merritt? Because you know what they're going to do with that pick.
Yes. I mean, Carlton traded with Hawthorn last year. The pick 9 that Hawthorn holds is already Carlton's. So
yes, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, do Carlton want to do that deal with Hawthorn
to strengthen the...
Because they know that the pick's not going to, likely not going to end up in a good place for them.
Well, the pressure is on them also to do something with 10 and 11. So
they've got to do something.
It depends on their options. Because if they can trade 10 and 11 up with Richmond, which is another contender, I reckon, for pick 4, or Carlton would be a contender. There's so many different permutations. I think it's possible, but Essendon may, just draw a really strong line in the sand, which is an ironic comment to use because the line of the sand comment phrase was an Essendon and Hawthorn game from like 2004.
That's right.
But
I'm just reading. Sorry, Felix from Everything Essendon. Merritt doesn't want to leave. He's just fleecing Mitchell for a free dinner. I just had to read that comment.
I love a free dinner.
Cost of living these days.
It's all just
Yeah, I was just going to say, should we just offer some predictions? Put your balls on the line. What happens with Zach Merritt?
I'm going to put my balls on the line.
I'm going to put my balls online.
I reckon Essendon force him to stay.
It's so hard because what Essendon have come out and said, they're going to look so stupid if he leaves.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They've put their balls on the line and said he is staying.
Yeah.
And they don't have to trade him.
No. They don't have to trade him.
But could it be like a Petrarca situation where his value drops next year?
I just don't know if you're Essendon, like if you want to start this, like it's going to be a big call for them to start this rebuild after everything that's happened with Merritt. Like they're bringing in a bunch of fresh faces from the draft this year. Last couple of seasons have been the same. If they want to at least communicate that they're doing this like cultural rebuild, is that really a good place to start?
I think he'll still lead them. Like whether or not he's the captain, he will still show up and be an absolute
he'll play.
professional.
I'm not worried about that. I just mean from a perspective of just like needing to clean the slate, more like symbolically than anything to communicate that to the younger players and stuff that are going to be coming through. I don't know if like you want to bring in a bunch of new draftees. Like they're going to bring in a pretty big haul this year, and like they're walking into that.
Yeah, the captain doesn't want to be there. It's pretty toxic.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I don't know. My prediction would be Hawthorn find a way.
Yeah. I think I've actually taught myself out of it. I think he's probably 60-40 to stay.
That's fair.
But I actually think Essendon should wait Hawthorn out and get the best deal possible and take this deal, is my opinion.
Steve Hunt says, I wouldn't mind pick 8 future first plus Cam McKenzie. Cam McKenzie's like apparently Sam Mitchell's like favourite player.
Yeah, right. Not sure who Steve goes for. I mean, it's probably a fairish deal. Future first, though, is a lot later than, say, 2 top 12 picks this year.
Pick 8, future first, and Cam McKenzie.
Yeah, that's basically
that's way too much.
Well, a future first is like potentially pick 20.
True.
And likely to be pick 20.
Yeah, because of Hawthorn, which is what I actually just made that point.
So 8, 20 and Cam McKenzie, I actually wouldn't accept if I was Essendon.
How many firsts is Zach Merritt worth?
I would accept that if I was Essendon.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't deal in hypotheticals.
I would push for the 2 top 12 picks in the scenario that I just outlined. But mind you, that might not be possible.
One massive player to another. Charlie Curnow.
You're an all-star. Get your game on. Go play.
At Geelong or at Sydney?
Seamless.
1 from 9. Geelong threw 3 firsts at the Blues. What were those picks?
Well, the Geelong's first rounders for the next 3 years. I love how it was reported. Geelong make aggressive offer for Charlie Curnow. The Geelong's pick this year is pick 19. Next year it could be pick 20. And the year after that's the Tasmania draft where it could be pick 30.
Yeah.
So it's like 20, 21, 30. Like that's a woeful offer for Charlie Curnow, which I think has been laughed out the door. But as Andrew Mackey says, it was literally the best offer Geelong could muster unless they've given up a Brian Myers or something like that, which is, unlikely. Very unlikely, I would have said. So I think Charlie Curnow could, if it seems to be Sydney or bust at the moment. We can probably rule out Geelong as a contender, and so should be the case. But Sydney are probably much more in the mix here. They got pick 10, which is significantly better than what Geelong's picks are. But there's also been some suggestion that Will Hayward, Ollie Florent, and James Rowbottom are 3 players named as potential to make a move the other direction. You'd imagine they don't give up 10 Hayward, Florent, and Rowbottom. That would be pretty exorbitant. But what kind of mix of picks here and players do you think gets the deal done for Sydney?
Florent, Hayward, and 10 probably. Florent's just he's their new Durden.
Yeah, I mean,
he's better than Durden.
He has been a good player at times. I do believe that Carlton like him as well. I remember reading that Carlton has showed interest in Florent.
Yeah, I reckon Carlton have shown interest in both those, haven't they?
Hayward's
definitely. Yeah, I remember Florent being rumoured to go there as well. And then you're going to have to give up a first rounder.
Yeah.
Given that Carlton, I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but like they've got Harry Mackay, who is like really, he is good enough to be a number 1 key position forward at an AFL team. He's won the Coleman medal. He kicks a lot of goals when he plays that role. Is there like an argument here that if they could get their hands on a draft pick and Hayward, that they're actually not losing too much?
Yeah, structurally, no.
Yeah.
I agree.
they're bringing in another forward. Like I'm just going to reel off their 2025 numbers. I know both of these players actually had kind of down seasons in Curnow and Haywood, but they're both the number one goal scorer for forwards at their team, both Curnow and Haywood, that is. And they generate the most shots, the forwards at both of their teams. Haywood kicked 29 goals from 48 shots, 0.5 contested marks, but he had 2.7 ground balls. Curnow, 32 goals from 66 shots, 1.5 contested marks, so 3 times as many contested marks as Haywood, but only 2.3 ground balls. So basically, you're giving up some contested marking power, a little bit of goal scoring power with Haywood, but maybe structurally, it kind of works about the same.
Yeah, well said.
Are they the same age? When was Haywood
Same
drafted?
income.
Similar.
Same starting balance.
Yeah, I reckon was it 2015, 2016, Haywood?
If someone asked me how old Haywood was, I'd say 28.
I
I'd say 27. He's 26.
Yeah, I think he's a year younger. Yeah, 2016 draft, Curnow was 15. So
he
as far as
turns
age
27
goes-
at the end of this month.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a year older than Curnow then. They're younger, sorry.
There you go.
It's crazy that Haywood is actually their highest goal scorer as a forward.
Mm. Yeah. I mean,
Who else do they have there? Marty and McDonald.
yeah, like they missed
Yeah.
footy, didn't they?
Amadi has about a similar goals to game ratio as Haywood.
And Papley missed footy as well.
Papley missed footy. Like it's a bit of it was a down year for Sydney. I think Heaney might have kicked the most goals for them. I only sorted that by forwards, and Heaney is listed as a mid.
Yeah, right.
So
Wow.
he may have kicked more goals. But
Yeah, interesting.
29. It's a low number, but then Curnow only kicked 32, so it's only a 3-goal difference. Curnow generates a lot more shots though, at 66 to 48. So Curnow had a down year from an efficiency point of view as well.
Mm. What's in this for Carlton? Because Curnow's heavily contracted, and if they want established players, that signals an intention to still be competitive now. There is no real incentive to trade for him. The only really thing that, I mean, other than the cultural element, get out a player that doesn't want to play for you and get in players that do, is that I think getting pick 10 could unlock the opportunity to move 10 and 11 up and get a top 5 talent in the draft, which would give them, in addition to Jagger Smith, Harry Dean, potentially Cooper Duff-Tytler, or similar level talents, and Jack Eisen in the draft as well as
Cody Walker in 26.
Cody Walker in 26, and then all the other players they've picked up and really re-image their side. So
Yep.
We'll talk about Carlton later, but they have been aggressive. But I just, is there enough in it there for Carlton?
I think if Carlton got, was it pick 10? We
Pick
said
10.
Pick 10, Haywood
Yeah.
and Florent, I'd be shaking their hand off.
Yeah, I think that's
that
a
the
fair
saying?
trade.
That is definitely not the thing.
Shaking their hand
Yeah.
under
Sliding
the table.
their hand off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
I think
from whose perspective? Carlton.
Carlton.
I do think
I would be
you're
flat.
giving Harry Mackay a little bit too much sort of value.
And that would be backed up here by Heath in the comments, who says, respect Harry, but given his recent mental health issues, is there a heap of trust he gets back through a full season?
He just goes through periods where he just shanks every shot on goal.
No,
and
I
just
agree with
loses
you.
complete confidence. And if he has one of those patches or goes through an injury, then it's like, who have you got in your forward line?
I just feel like
Haywood.
there's such a correlation between the emergence of Curnow in that Carlton team and him playing worse footy.
Well, like he's the barometer type thing.
Well, like basically it's that thing of like forwards where if you bring in a more dominant forward, Curnow's a better player than Mackay.
Yeah.
Mackay's still a really high level player, but as soon as you bring an alpha like Curnow, I've said the word alpha twice in this show and I never use that word. As soon as you bring him into that forward line, it just detracts from Mackay so much, and he seems like a significantly worse player than what he actually is.
Fair. The comparison.
Predictions? What happens here?
I think this will get done. Different to the merit deal, I feel like Carlton are open to exploring this and will actually see ways to make this happen that are realistic given what Sydney have. Charlie Curnow also followed True Bloods fan account on Instagram this week. I think this will happen, and by this time next week, the trade window will be closed and Charlie Curnow will be playing for the Swans.
See, I would much prefer Rowbottom than Florent for as a recruit in this part of this trade, but I don't know if Carlton would really need a Rowbottom
You prefer Rowbottom?
to Florent. Yeah,
Not for Carlton.
for Carlton. That's the issue here. If it was like my team involved, I would say Haywood, Rowbottom, pick 10.
Yes.
That would get it done.
Yeah, they just have like he'd basically have to push like a George Hewitt out of the team,
Yeah.
which isn't really worth it for them.
No. All right, we'll keep going through some of the trades we expect to happen, or may not happen, but Jai Simpkin is another one. Let's talk about this, Dylan. North Melbourne want 2 first-round picks from Collingwood, who seem to be the only club interested at the moment. The Pies have said no to 2 firsts, but they can pay the salary somehow.
2 firsts for Jai Simpkin is crazy talk.
No, see, I don't know if it is, because what's Collingwood's first going... Oh, actually, hang on, they don't have a first this year, do they?
That's just never going to happen.
So we're talking 2026 and 2027. Now, it depends on what you view of Collingwood in the next 2 years, because like Geelong, those could be 2 picks in the 20s.
Yeah, but Jai Simpkin isn't even worth 2 picks in the 20s for me.
No, I actually agree with you. What I don't
fair.
agree with, though, is that North may as well ask the question. Like, he's a former top draft pick. He's a ready-to-go player. You need him more than we need him to leave. Like, North, if he stays and comes back through the door, it's not a big deal for North, is it?
Yeah,
He just plays like a position that apparently he doesn't necessarily want to play. I think he can play a high forward role okay. He's not great. He's not a great player. He's not worth 2 first-round draft picks, but it doesn't really, like, we don't have to get this guy out of our club. It has to be a reasonable deal for us. So I think that's what North are trying to push here.
And also from a Collingwood perspective, given that the 26 and 27 drafts where Collingwood could maybe slide back, I don't think they'll completely crash out, but say they finish mid-table, those actually become very valuable picks, or relatively valuable.
Yeah.
So from their perspective, Jai Simpkin does not represent the value, I suppose.
And people saying in the comments here, like, Simpkin is average. I totally agree. But what is the point of North Melbourne just giving him to Collingwood? Like, we're not a freebies factory.
Yeah.
Players don't need Simpkin at all. We have enough slow players, says a void generation.
Sort of agree. The only thing is, like, you've got to remember, like, Collingwood were running Ned Long for large periods of this season.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a very good player. Said that multiple times.
What is Simpkin at his best? Like, if Simpkin can put himself on the field as a player coach, hypothetical, what role would he be playing?
Has to be first possession.
Yeah, okay.
Like, there's really nothing else that he would be elite at other than that. I don't know if you'd call him even elite at that, but he'd be better than Ned Long.
You know, he met up with like a bunch of Freo players a couple of weeks ago, Jai Simpkin.
Did he?
Coffee, yeah.
I don't
Caleb Sarong.
think you guys are.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine that being a thing, but interesting. What else we got next, Drews?
We have Calamar Chi, a deal that has been slow to happen, given that, you know, at the best and fairest night, they waved off Sarcevic. He's gone. Archie, still not traded. Brisbane want Adelaide's pick 16, but they are not budging. Brisbane could send 23 back.
Just read out my notes without any like context.
You asked me what we got, Nat.
Yeah,
that's what you got.
No, but the second part was meant to be later. Brisbane, Brisbane won a first rounder for Archie, who's out of contract and 28. Pick 16 is the pick in question. I also wrote Brisbane could send 23 back as part of an exchange. Like, what do you think Archie is worth?
I don't think he's worth pick 16 at this stage of his career. He's a gun. He's spoken very highly of him. But for a player that, if Judd McVee's worth pick 23, I'd say Archie is, worth around that.
Yeah, around 23.
What would you prefer without having like a deep lens on the draft? Would you prefer like Lockie Doverston, Jevon Philippou, Harley Barker type young player, or would you prefer Calamachi?
I don't know if any of those guys are likely to be still on the board by Adelaide's pick, to be honest.
Harley Barker would be.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you Barker.
Didn't you say pick 16?
Yes. Yeah, but don't forget that I think when you push out the academy bits and that's 21 in the open pool, I honestly would be surprised if they're still around.
Yeah,
but maybe I'm wrong.
That's a fair point. Harley Barker, I think, will be, because I think the knee will just push him back enough.
I'll give you Barker. I think for where Adelaide is at, Archie kind of makes sense. Having said that, he's also not really a massive position of need.
No.
But he would someone that fit in and improve the balance, I suppose. But
pick in the 20s would be fair, I reckon.
Yeah.
But then that sort of is in the 20s. It's weird. We have
That's
to
true.
like look at draft picks like that now, don't we? You've got to go, okay, it's raw, it's 16.
Yeah.
But then what does that actually mean on draft night?
Yeah, you equate that. You just eliminate the academy players and say who's the 16th best player of the open pool talents.
Yep.
Adelaide only hold pick 16 and then third rounders after that. So
Yeah.
They don't really have a lot to make.
It's so
This still
funny.
happen.
It's probably the best crop of South Australian talent that we've had in years, and Port Adelaide aren't in the first round, and Adelaide's first pick is 16.
Yeah, which might be at Brisbane. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lewis, thank you again for another $5 donation. He says, West Coast Trade pick 1 and the Saints future second for Essendon's picks 5 and 6. I like that. Do I like that? I think so. 1 for 5 and 6 and St Kilda's future second. Yeah, that's probably about right. Is it? Oh, sometimes I do this strange. My brain's not clicking into gear. 1
These
for
things
5
are
and
so
6.
hard, man. I got no idea what's going on there.
No, I think so. To get 1 down to 5 and 6 for a future second, bearing in mind we'd still hold pick 2. Okay, then he says West Coast Trade picks 2, 13, 34, 41. For Richmond's picks 3 and 4.
Dude, this is a piss ache.
Yeah, Lewis has just trolled you.
He is,
No, I think he's
and then we
serious.
pick 3, 4, 5, 6, 38, 53, 58.
Well, he's right. No, that's a good outcome.
Yeah.
It's a good outcome.
Just funny.
Wait, last one. West Coast Trade P1 and Saints future sec. West Coast Trade.
So two
For some
separate
reason,
trades.
I can't even understand what P1 means.
Pick 1. Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Parking level 1.
It's been a long
That's
week.
what it looked like. I was picturing that sign.
Look, I think that's a pretty good
I
outcome.
was picturing this.
Would Richmond? I don't know if Richmond would do it. Oh, maybe they would because they want to pick later, but they also want future picks.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure.
I feel like so many of these deals get thrown at me and they're coming from a person who supports a certain team, and it's always like slightly favourable, and it's like, who says no? And it's like, well, clearly them.
Yeah, I think on the value, that's not too bad. It's just whether or not Richmond have the incentive to do that because I think they want picks next year as well. So,
yep.
Actually, you know what? No, it's actually a terrible deal for Richmond. 3 and 4 versus 2, 13, 34, 41. Mind you, they do have a Kellaway bid to consider.
So they would give up 3 and 4.
And get 2, 3, 34, and 41. I think that's pretty bad for Richmond.
The only thing that would be incentivizing that is if like one of those, like if they really wanted Dersma or Duff Tytler,
Yeah.
and they didn't think that. But Richmond kind of showed us last year that they were happy to sit on. A lot of people thought they were going to move up and try and get into pick 2 and take like the 2 guys that they absolutely wanted, but they were happy enough to sit on that.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
I feel like they might play it similar this year.
Yeah, no, that's very true. What do we got next, Drews? My laptop has died.
We have Buku.
I'll just run through this if you like. Buku Kamis is another deal that we expect to get done possibly. He's contracted for another year to stay at the Bulldogs, and Carlton have been the club linked to him. I don't remember if he's formally requested a trade. I think he has, but they have picks 10, 22, 54, 67, 72. What is fair value for Buku Kamis?
30s, 40s.
Yeah, which is exactly where Carlton do not have picks. So that, I think it could rely on Carlton trading 10 down in that potential scenario.
I feel like that's about what Karmas is worth, but is he worth more to the Western Bulldogs than that?
Yeah, because he's contracted, they still have that
And he's a key
possibility.
defender.
Yeah. Is he a key defender? Like a true
Well,
one?
no,
He's like a
no,
third or-
he's not a key defender. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's
he's
fair.
more of a running
For the
defender,
Dogs, he
but-
probably plays key defender.
Well, he has been. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a chance they hold on to him. Tyler Young to West Coast. I think that will be a formality. He's already requested a trade. Pick 41, probably about right. Jai Sarong to Sydney. He's
Yes.
nominated them.
That's a good move for him.
Mm.
Like,
and for Sydney, I think that's a perfect match.
And
Yeah.
like, obviously, there was a lot made of him going to Freo, given Caleb's there, but Caleb didn't like try to twist his arm at all, or he was just like, make the right decision for you.
It'd be a poor move for him.
Yeah,
going to
we
Freo.
have a lot of players in that position. He did play a bit of wing this year at Box Hill, but no, that's a great move for him, and you'd expect him to slot straight into that best 22 for a good club, good culture. So good move for Jai Sarong if that is to happen. They could be the winners of the trade period if it shapes up to get Kerno. They've got Rose. Have they secured Roses Jr.? That's happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do this.
Jack Buller, this has still not happened. He requested a trade to Collingwood early on. And Stephen May, Tom Mitchell, and Mason Cox, all players that have been told to explore options, but have not found a home yet. Who wants Mason Cox and Tom Mitchell?
Collingwood can have them.
Just
I
like
think,
that.
honestly.
Organic rosemary downstairs. It's offered for free, and no one's taking it.
Yeah, well, I think with Mitchell and Cox probably, like, it would have to be a team in Melbourne. I think when you're this late into your career, and probably Stephen May as well, actually. When you're this late into your career, you're probably willing to change, like, a suburb. But
Yeah.
like Tom Mitchell to West Coast makes some sense. Obviously, like you don't get all of those players, but like in theory it works. But like, would he move to Perth for a year? Unless he had coaching ambitions, which there's no evidence of. So
Who, Tom Mitchell?
if he did,
I reckon he maybe potentially would.
yeah, it just has that kind of vibe. You reckon?
Yeah, well, he's already shown with ball magnets that he likes to pass down knowledge and that type of thing. So
True, but he might just focus on that business.
Yeah,
Who
that's what I
knows?
was thinking.
yeah, possibly. Lockie Neal is also a co-founder of that business, living in Brisbane.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. And Patrick Cripps will come to West Coast, so they can come together.
That's pretty much all the trades. Did you want to go through the pick swaps?
Yeah, I'll just highlight the trades to watch to summarize.
Your voice sounds great. Have you got
It
water?
does. I do, thank you. I'm good now. I was reading it and then you just changed tabs.
I'm
by the
actually
way.
just going to
Oh,
grab
sorry.
some more water while
All right.
we make this cross section. Where are we going now?
I'll just finish off this video.
Pick swaps.
So the pick swaps to keep an eye out for this week. Sydney pick 11, that will have to get traded because they have Max King in the draft. Gold Coast pick 8 if that does not get become part of the Petrarca deal. So 7 is going to be part of it for sure. 8 could as well. If it doesn't happen, I think West Coast is the favourite to potentially land pick 8. Carlton's pick 10. They could have 10 and 11 as we've discussed throughout this episode. Richmond's pick 4. They have been open to exploring the possibility of trading forward down the draft and into next year. So like a pick in the top 12 and something else next year. And West Coast pick 2 has not been put on the table, but I'm an Eagles nuffy and I strongly suspect it's gettable. And I know that Essendon has reached out to Richmond and West Coast to potentially move up to 1 or 2. So all of these are top end picks that could be moved simply for other picks that I think were ones to watch this year.
On Essendon there is the player that they want. Is it Dersma to reunite the Dersma clan, or is
Dersma
it Cooper Duff
cubed.
Tytler, who is from the Essendon area?
It depends which one they want to extract, but it's like, I suppose if they trade for pick 2, it must not be Dersma.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
I think Dersma is probably going to go pick 1. So if they're happy with pick 2, then it must be Cooper Duff.
Yeah.
Sorry. Having said that, Richmond's probably not the most likely team to take Cooper Duff Tytler. Maybe they see West Coast is, but like trading for Richmond from 5 to 3 to get Cooper Duff Tytler seems a bad move. It could be Roby.
Richmond's only impetus to get Cooper Duff Tytler would be that he's just like too good of a talent
Yeah.
to leave on the board. That would be
Yeah.
it. Like they don't need him. They pretty much drafted a similar type in Sims,
Yeah.
I would say. But yeah, Duff Tytler more upside for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a comment saying, why don't Freo get more aggressive? The narrative around Freo has been like, we're going to get enough organic growth within the list that we already have. But yeah, how much growth do you think like a young side can get like in a year?
Out of that Freo side, well, I think I talked about this
How
actually
much
with
does it
them.
improve?
I don't think you're not going to get anything more out of that midfield, are you? Other than Hayden Young
Yeah,
comes
just
back in
consistency with the midfield. More than
plays
anything.
more games. Like Sarong isn't going to get better. Brayshaw's not going to get better. I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, no, they're already at a very high level.
Yeah, Young's at a high level, but I mean, like, yeah, Jordan Clark took probably another step this year.
Yeah, I suppose you just get that next. Yeah, like a Chapman or a...
Chapman would be one that could level up. I'm just trying to think of your forward line. Obviously, like Murphy Reid. Like, will you get much more out of Murphy Reid in year 2? Probably not.
Yeah,
It'd be unlikely. I would have thought that he actually goes again.
that would be crazy.
Yeah, if he goes again, then he's like the next Dacos. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you'd expect him to get more attention next year as well from opposition teams.
Yeah, I think Tracy could maybe there's a
Yeah.
little bit there.
Yeah. Amos, fuck.
Oh,
If he can go to another level, that'd be great.
Any sort of level.
Yeah,
would
but
be good there.
As for trades, I feel like we've sort of got most of the pieces that we want, other than like an outside winger. Is Toby Wan that player? Is he
No.
or is he just on ball?
No, he's on ball inside.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, he won't be doing that for you.
Freo
He's got
should be
decent athleticism.
Freo should be opening the premiership window, but they're fiddling with the latch. Well, to be fair, we started this season really slow. We were tied on premiership points with Collingwood, who made the top 4. So if we fucking beat the Saints or beat the D's or like didn't fuck around in the first couple rounds of the season playing like shit for no reason at all.
Flip side is there though. You also won a ton of close games.
Yeah, that
that-
is true.
It doesn't mean that you're going to lose them next year, but
Yeah. But
yeah.
like we say one small thing goes right for us that didn't this year. And I know a lot went right that probably shouldn't have, like you're alluding to, but we at least play a week deeper into finals. We get the double chance.
Yeah, I think what Freo have on their side is they're not in necessarily a rush. I think they could, like, there's a way that they could fast track this a little bit if they did go after some experienced players. But it looks like it, based on like the McVie signing, you're kind of more in that phase still. You feel like you are still like, okay, like let's make sure we know exactly what we've got from our younger players, where that sits, and then we're going to go potentially bring in some
I'm still
top
looking at
guys.
Chad Warner and Cozzy. I reckon those are both deals that could happen in the next few years.
That'd be huge. Like Cozzy Pickett particularly, I feel would be massive. I feel like essentially your midfield is good enough. The only question would be like, do you have that like forward mid?
Yeah,
I guess which
that's
like,
what Hayden Young is, and Shea plays a lot of midfield for us, and even Sarong at times this year. Mainly when Hayden Young wasn't in the side, played a little bit of mid forward.
Cozzy Pickett would absolutely be unreal.
Yeah, as if that didn't happen. He's signed until 2034, bro. That's got to be the most ridiculous move ever.
Yeah.
Like the most
insane.
ludicrous. Fair, but
fair play. We just got a big super chat here from Reef Luke, $14.99. That's incredible, mate. He says, "Hey boys, sorry if it's already been covered, but what do we reckon about Finlay McRae?"
Rogue Riot, are you in the chat? Do you want to take this one? Daniel comments, Finn McRae is a dud. Look, he was a first round pick in a very compromised draft.
Was he 2020?
Yeah, I reckon he was.
Yep.
I don't think he was 21. I reckon he was 20. He's got a bit about him, but obviously, like, stars of opportunity at Collingwood couldn't break into the side. I think he was a fairly strong VFL performer. I think as far as West Coast goes, that's an upgrade on our depth. And I don't know if you asked that from the context of I'd imagine not a Collingwood fan who wants to know about Finn McRae. So I'm going to assume it's a West Coast framed one.
He's been delisted.
He's been delisted and he's met with West Coast, which may or may not mean anything. And West Coast probably casting a wide net for their full rookie list spots. So I think he'd come in and be, as valuable. Well, yeah, probably in the same conversation as Dev Robertson. Like, probably not going to be in the team in 3 years, but for 3 years could have some value.
I'll give my opinion, and it probably aligns with Daniel Savanos, who says Finn McRae is a dud. I just don't think he's got any weapons at all.
Yeah, okay.
And that's, I think, why he's thrived in the VFL. He's probably not good enough athletically. He's a little bit like his brother, really. Like, he probably would be like a first possession guy. He's one of those taller mids that gets drafted because they look attributally pretty good, but then they've got nothing about them.
I thought I've seen some explosiveness from Finlay before, like in highlights, more so than really watching him, like a first step. I could be wrong. Like, evidently, he's been delisted.
Clip it up for me and send it to me, and then I'll believe it.
I actually know this because it was a bit of an ongoing meme that Rogue Riot, big Collingwood fan, he was actually on the last True Footy Grand Final stream, Brisbane v Sydney. He was talking up Finn McRae as the next Ben Cousins on field.
Who was this?
Rogue Riot was saying, yeah, and I just remember him sending me a clip of a pretty sick goal, and I thought, yeah, that's actually a pretty good goal.
He could be a good player.
Weird that he could be a good player.
Weird that he didn't crack into that on field.
Writing comments.
Sorry, that was just a really good, really funny joke in my head. Do you know Finlay, the WWE wrestler? He was like the Irish guy that carried like a little pipe with him, and his song started with "My name's Finlay, and I love to fight."
Oh yeah, that was Drews who commented it because I do not watch WWE.
True, but he watches too much WWE. He doesn't watch WWE, but he does watch what's that love show you watch?
Oh, Too Hot to Handle.
Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah.
I'll just come in, he'll be watching that or That 70s Show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, That 70s Show's great.
Yeah, debatable.
Yeah, you're too young to get 90s sitcoms, bro.
After going through some of the cast.
Don't give me that.
We'll talk about Freo before. Take Sarong or Brayshaw out with injury and they don't win anything. Sarong, yes.
Wait, hang
Brayshaw.
on. Tell me that comment again.
He's saying without Sarong and Brayshaw, we don't win anything, he says.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah. Will Brodie, fuck, he's gone. Murphy Reid, he plays forward. I don't know.
But if you take, that's like saying, if you take Nick and Josh Dacos out of Collingwood, they'll clearly be a lot worse.
Yeah, no, I reckon, you chuck in a Neil Erasmus, he can go and do a job in there. But They anyway.
What are you
They
saying?
can go and do a job. Neil Rasmus can do a job in the midfield. Is all I'm saying. Not to the same degree as Sarong and Brayshaw. Don't
I
get
mean,
me
he
wrong.
can play in there, but you'll lose a lot more games.
Yeah. Well, probably.
Yes.
I don't. Yeah.
Nah.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to before you pick out part every fucking word I read out of this comment
Sorry.
is they are very durable players. They have hardly missed any footy throughout their whole
Yeah,
career. I think
totally.
Sarong's already played 100 games.
Luke Shuey was a durable player.
Rats.
Just touch wood.
Yeah.
Don't wish injury on anyone. But I'm
Oh, okay.
just saying,
You were saying
yeah.
that, and then he became.
And then, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he, yeah.
Hamstrings,
Nah.
sweet Vicks, etc.
Yeah.
No, they're definitely robust guys, aren't they?
Mm,
Those two.
yeah.
These trades won't happen. Riley Sanders, Zach Butters, Jordan Butts, Lee Kalia, Bailey Humphrey.
Yeah. So I just wrote a list there that Druzy just half-assed. And then
I don't know-
changed tabs.
I don't know if you wanted to talk about that in the past thing. I didn't see
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Riley Sanders, Zach Butters, Jordan Butts, Lika Leah, Bailey Humphrey are players that we can expect to not get traded this year, was what Druzy so eloquently expressed just then.
We've
They're
got-
really pushing that Bailey Humphrey one though. He had Country Road as the song on his Instagram.
I have no doubt he wants to go home, to be honest, but it doesn't mean it will happen. He's contracted for another couple.
Again, why would you leave the Gold Coast deal?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
I really, really don't know. It would have to be. I mean, you don't know what personal stuff people have going on in their life, and if it's something like that, fair enough. But
Could be girl troubles.
could be girl troubles. Somebody asked too in the comments. I think I missed it now, but asked about Collingwood deciding not to match, or like basically told Thomas McGuan that they will not be picking him up in the draft, which
Yeah.
you don't see that very often, where a club actually informs the player we're not going to be taking you.
Mm.
I reckon I've seen it before. It wouldn't have been a high profile one.
Yeah.
There was some not matched bids, if that counts. That is different.
Is that this year's
different.
draft? Tom
Yeah,
McGuire?
well, no,
Yeah.
of course there's been non-match bids, but
Yeah.
actually informing the player,
Dunkley was
a
the most
month and-
famous of those, but sorry, yes.
yeah, a month and a half out from the draft.
Yeah,
like,
you're
we're not
right.
going to take you.
Yeah, it's interesting given they've made it a talent assessment of this draft where they don't really have high picks and they're still saying no. You know,
Exactly.
that must imply pretty strongly that then they don't think he gets through. Maybe he gets undrafted and they rookie list him, but now it's probably awkward if that happens.
Yeah, he was definitely sliding a lot for me. Like coming into the year, he probably looked like he was like a top 20, but half of that is because you just haven't seen
Yeah,
most of the guys consistently, so you don't really know where he sits.
yeah,
Always gets big numbers. He's a pretty smart player, but very lightweight and doesn't have any weapons. So there's nothing really that distinguishes him other than numbers.
yeah,
Just a high volume guy.
absolutely.
But he played Vic Metro.
Mm.
Most players that play Vic Metro get drafted, and to tell him that he's not you're not even good enough to match a late bid on.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking, eh?
Yeah.
Weren't Collingwood fans pretty hot on him? Like,
Oh, they
'cause
were.
They don't have. What do they have in the draft this year, Collingwood? 39, 59, 61, 77. So do they just like not have the ability to match it?
No, they definitely have the
They
ability.
have the
to match
ability.
it,
They've just
yeah.
said like we're not.
they're not going to commit to it.
We don't want to draft you to our team.
Just that they're not committing to him through
Yeah.
like a
I
match.
think they've said like unless it's like a rookie, and we have the pick there, but like we're not going to take you in the national basically.
So they've basically just got someone that they want to take with that pick 39 that isn't him.
Well, they got Zach McCarthy and is there a third?
There's Jai Saxoner.
Yeah, so maybe they rate those guys higher.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Particularly McCarthy. He's a good player.
Yeah, so you got to prioritize those and yeah.
Yeah.
Where to next? Who should we lead into?
Carlton or Brisbane? Where do we want to go?
I say we
Open
go
to-
Carlton. I think
Yeah.
it's more timely.
Yeah.
It's more with it. So we wanted to pick apart and have a bit of a look at Carlton's list from the perspective of, I suppose, like what they're going to do in the trade period and draft the guys they brought in, but also having a look at their list overall. I want to throw out a question for you guys in how you think, straight off the top here, how did it go so wrong for Carlton so quickly?
I think injuries did play a part this year, particularly their ability to move the ball from half back. Like I remember, I know one player's not going to make your team, but Jordan Boyd last year was just like a great kicker for footy. And who else is playing behind the ball? I don't know if Zach Williams is playing behind the ball more. Sard was in better
he was.
form. So they did have that transition working a bit better for them last year. And then this year, just their ability to connect from back half to front half just went to shit. And I think injuries did play a part in that. And then with that bad form, with losing that Richmond game early on in the season, it just turned the culture so toxic. Like Voss said at the BNF night, like they aren't a resilient football club. They sort of rolled over and were just like, oh, we're shit then.
I mean, if you look at the 2 years before this one as well, they played those seasons in halves. When they made the prelim, they came from like 15th or something, like mid-year. And then I'm struggling to remember 2024, but I reckon it went the other way. They started strongly and finished poorly. Albeit injuries were a factor at the end of that year as well, to be fair. But it does seem perhaps collectively there was a bit of picking and choosing from that playing group rather than the talent.
I agree with you. It's like that vibes based mentality, isn't it? Like when everything's kind of on your terms, you do really well. This current team that they have put together, where it sort of sits, so this run that they've had as a successful team, if you include those preliminary finals, it kind of goes back to 2015 when they really started this like youth kick. So to be honest, they've only had one really strong draft, and that was 2015, where they went Wiedering at 1, Harry Mackay at 10, and Curnow at 12. And that year they also got Silvani as a father-son. So 4 pretty high-end players, 3 really high-end players there. And then the other one where they drafted well was probably 2018, where they just picked up Sam Walsh as the overall number 1 pick. Outside of that, if you go back to that 2015 to sort of 2019 period where they were like really going after young players hard. So they recruited from a trade perspective, Kerridge, Lamb, Phillips, Plowman, Sumner, Marchbank, Palmer, Smeds, Kennedy, McGovern, Setterfield, Chera. Those guys were all under 25.
Yeah.
I forgot about Billy Smeds.
I know there's some stinky recruiting from a trade perspective in that sort of area. But they kind of nailed everything down to that 2015 draft because that was the spine, really.
Yeah.
When you, like, with Wiedering, Mackay, Curnow and Silvani. And then like obviously already had Patrick Cripps at the club before that anyway. They then went into, from 2020, they sort of went into that more senior recruiting phase where they got Sard, Williams, Hewitt and Akers, who were all 25 plus. But there's just an enormous amount of those players that they brought in from other clubs failed. And I think a lot of it goes back to when you like look under the table a little bit, to use my phrase that I love. Stephen Silvani as list manager, did he just go a little bit too heavy on those GWS rejects?
Possibly. I mean, like it kind of made sense at the time when you consider how many of those were high draft picks that couldn't get opportunity at GWS and Carlton were paying 10 cents on the dollar for them. So from that point of view, you could say it's smart, but like it is also, it's also unclear how much of this is development and failure to develop at Carlton that is the problem versus really poor talent ID. I suppose that to begin with, these guys were probably not in favoritism at the original expansion clubs. If you go through some of those names,
I'll give you some of those names while you kind of mid-thread here. So they recruited Matthew Kennedy for pick 28, which turned out to be Sam Taylor. Gross. Yeah. Caleb Marchbank, in a sort of weird way, ended up to be Ed Richards in a convoluted trade there. Zach Williams, Reece Palmer, Will Setterfield, Lockie Fogarty, who was from the Giants Academy originally, Lockie Plowman and Jed Lamb. The reason I mentioned Fogarty there is I feel like there's an element of this where because Stephen Silvani was at the Giants, he liked these players more than he should have. He saw more in them because he had a prior relationship to them. I'm actually reading a really interesting book at the moment. It's from a data analyst guy in the UK who worked with Liverpool. And he said that the biggest thing that he sees, like the biggest sort of cognitive bias that he sees is coaches come into football teams and they want to recruit players that they've worked with previously.
That was the whole Ten Hag conundrum at United. He signed like 5 players for stupid money and none of them worked.
So it's like that trust element and the relationship, and they think you trust that they can do a job for you. And obviously Stephen Silvani had seen that. It just feels like I don't think we've ever seen that where a club's gone after like that many players from a certain team. And it has to be somewhat of a symptom. Basically, none of those players really worked out for them.
I think it's interesting as well to consider how many players either stayed the same or got worse when they were recruited to Carlton. Yeah. So how much of it is talent idea? Like, not to repeat myself, but even if you look at some of those established recruits, Mitch McGovern, he went from Adelaide, obviously, played in a grand final team.
Yep.
But did he get worse?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's a little bit harsh because he's been up and down.
He didn't get better.
Career. Yeah.
He was, 22 when they recruited him?
Yeah.
And he didn't get better, and he should have gotten better.
Yeah.
He's so inconsistent, so injury prone all throughout his time at Carlton.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's definitely there's no one thing to point at here, but it's just consistent mistakes across like different departments, isn't it? Even I feel Chera's a little bit in that same where like I think he was recruited at 22 or 23 as well, and just like on the treadmill, like just doesn't get any better.
Well, he was a player that at Freo looked like he was going to be a really bright. I always sort of compared him to Pendles in terms of just like smarts, ball use, that type of thing. So I think they sort of had to take the punt on him. But yeah, he just goes to Carlton, and I don't know what it is about that club, but they just plateau. And yeah, like sort of pick and choose, like you said before, Jesse. Another thing is with their success, we've spoke about it a lot on this show, is that all their midfielders are that same sort of pace. Like they don't really have that really explosive midfielder. Walsh was probably as close as they'd get to it, but he's had to battle some real tough injury. Not in terms of like a soft tissue type thing. It seems like that back injury has caused him like genuine nerve damage, which has affected his ability to kick and just have confidence in his body to be that.
I don't think at the same
player.
time, he still wasn't ever explosive. Like he was one that had more outside skills.
He was always, maybe not as explosive as a, Bailey Humphrey or whatever, but he was always the first one out the front of a stoppage for the Blues. Whether that's just IQ, positional, whatever. He, was always a burst from stoppage player, I thought, from watching him during his sort of good times at Carlton pre-injury.
I also think it's a lack of, if you look at those overall recruits, like they're trying to get like out of your flankers, your small forwards, stuff like that. You're trying to get bargains everywhere, and you don't, like all the recruiting around like big guns was all midfield, spine, and they didn't recruit very well outside of that. And I think if you actually look at where their premiership tilt fell over, it is kind of around that, like speed in the forward half of the ground, guys that can be clinical in forward 50 as well. So
Zach Williams would probably be one of the more disappointing stories from their recruiting point of view, considering how good he was at GWS. I do know that injuries played a large part in that. I know he's barely got on the park for Carlton, but I would just highlight that. It was probably one of the more disappointing outcomes for them. And then, someone like a Matt Kennedy, they flip him to the Bulldogs and he has an outstanding season. These things don't look good.
Well, Kennedy was a fan favourite at the Blues before he left. And I feel like Carlton almost subscribed to Footy taking a more contested route in the future. Like you looked at that D side who was so like defense and contest dominant, and for a while that was football. Like during that post Richmond era, I suppose. Like all the Ds particularly.
It's funny though because all of the rule changes in the game at that same time were going against that.
Yeah,
like the stand rule, stuff like that, the ruck rules. It was all going to more transition-based football, and all the data was pointing to transition scoring being everything.
And they end up with Hewitt, Kennedy, Cripps, Chera.
I mean, weirdly, I suppose Hewitt could probably be seen as a success story just because they got him. I think they got him for relatively cheaply from Sydney, and they sort of converted him. He was like playing half back, I think, at Sydney, and they converted him into a pretty good midfielder. Like he's probably a success story, but again, he doesn't give them anything different to what they already have.
Which is fine because he's probably the one that's done that job most consistently for him, and you do need that. But then it's just like, Cripps is a Brownlow medalist, but aside from that, they just lack X factor in the middle of the park, and like pickups like Hollins as well gave him a crack. Good footballer. Had his off-field battles.
You're talking about?
Yeah. And then, Ollie as a higher level draft pick. We're not going to put a line through him just yet, but he sort of hasn't lived up to the hype either.
Nor has Sam Walsh. I think there's actually a big point.
He looked like he was pre-injury though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sam Walsh. But I just mean when you consider the trajectory of his career versus some of his colleagues, or peers rather, in the 2018 draft.
Do you remember back that was like the Kane Corns, Rosie will be better than Sam Walsh.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah,
Butters is better than both of them.
Yes.
Also from that draft. I'm sure that's injury related, but I would say Walsh's lack of evolution to being that A+ midfielder like we thought was coming is a factor in how they've stagnated, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. How much, like B-Dubs just put a comment here, Carlton play old-fashioned style but are trapped because they have the wrong midfielders. I totally agree with that it's both. How much of it do you put on Michael Voss, the fact that they couldn't, I suppose, like go all the way?
Yeah, the narrative sort of seems that he is like a man-motivator type coach rather than sort of like a tactical genius. Like he did well to galvanize the group in, 23, 24, and really bring the group together and create a culture. But sort of as that wears off, like how good are you tactically to go up against the best?
You almost think that he would have been maybe the perfect like platform coach, right? Kind of.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like get the camaraderie, get everybody like the buy-in, and then you get a bit more of a genius to launch you.
Well, that's where good assistants come in.
Yeah.
And they've just got rid of 2 of their assistant coaches. They got rid of their high-performance coach, Andrew Russell, who's probably, with Burgess at Adelaide, like the most renowned high-performance coach in our sport. And they had a bunch of soft tissue injuries. Was it last year? Yeah, I think it was last year. And they just got rid of him. It's like he's done it with the best clubs for 2 decades. And you're like, oh yeah, we're going to point the finger at you. Like, just didn't seem that they knew where the actual issue lies. And in reality, it was probably from the top of the club down.
Well, that's what I think. Like, if you actually want to draw a line under it, it's the problem with Carlton. It's not any one area, any one department. It's just general direction and strategy. It's like nobody knows. We've just lost our chat here, which is why our eyes have all just flickered there. I don't know what's happened there. But yeah, it's like the overall strategy, like where you want to place the blame, like to a specific person on that, I'm not sure, but they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
I think why Carlton are an interesting one this particular trade period is because with this Charlie Curnow deal, and, at the start of the trade period, there was talk around even Sam Walsh at one point and Harry Mackay as potential exits. It's pretty much just Curnow on the cards right now. There's a lingering conversation, a lurking conversation around what Carlton do directionally. Because if you start a fire sale for players, and it really is just Curnow at the moment, like what they do here will set them on a trajectory for the next couple of years as well. And this Charlie Curnow one feels important. They seem to have signalled an intention to get established players for him. We know that we've talked about whether it's Hayward, Florent, Rowbottom, and or Pick 10. The reason for that is because they've got academy/father-son tied players in the next 2 drafts. So I suppose the question is here, looking at their recruits, we talked about Ben Ainsworth, Campbell Chesser, Liam Reedy, potentially Buku Kamas, potentially Chankuth Giaf, as well as Harry Dean and Jack Eisen. What does this say about Carlton's intentions as a list? Do you think that this... Well, I think, and I'm leading you towards this, despite the fact they've lost TDK, Silvani, and potentially Curnow, they're clearly gearing up to be competitive over the next few years. And do you agree with this approach? Do you think they have enough to be in contention?
Do you think suggests that they're trying to be competitive over the next few years? I don't think Ainsworth, Chesser, Reedy, Karmas, CJ, any of them scream out, we're going to... They do nothing for me, especially when you're losing the talent of De Koning, Curnow, and a player of Silvani's age.
I think that there has been a preference to go for established players over draft picks.
Which of those are established players other than Buka?
Ainsworth is 27, Chesser is 22. I don't know how old Reedy is.
But they're not like established. Nah, they're not established AFL players.
We're defining established differently. We're talking about players who have been in the system for a number of years and you know what you're getting with them and can contribute much earlier than a draft pick.
I don't think you do know what you're getting with Chesser, Reedy, CJ, to be honest.
I think this is the conversation though, because you've got like, on one hand, they are sort of doing that. They're like pushing for a flag. They're bringing in experienced players. But on the other hand, like they got up to pick 3 last year really aggressively and got Jagger Smith. And then they still know that it's like they don't exactly know what to go all in on. So they're sort of like a few chips each way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you can't say these are rebuilding moves. To go for Ben Ainsworth at 27.
No, I think Ben Ainsworth's the best pickup that they've had. But Campbell Chesser, like... You even said it before. You I don't know if he'll be an A grader. Can he be a solid AFL player? Maybe.
Speculative.
Liam Reedy is a second to third choice ruck. CJ gets dropped from Hawthorn every second week. Buku Karmas has played a lot of games with the Bulldogs in one of the most depleted defensive sides in the AFL. So I don't think any of those players are moving the needle for them to compete in the now.
No, I think this is absolutely a rebuild. It's not necessarily like a West Coast, North Melbourne, Richmond rebuild.
Sure.
But it's a rebuild.
It's certainly a refurbishing.
Yeah.
Without a renovation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. What is actually the difference between refurbishing and renovating?
Is it furniture?
Isn't refurbishing,
Is it
interior?
furniture? Yeah, gotcha. All right.
Analysis.
Well, that's probably a better description of what they're doing rather than rebuilding the entire structure. But I mean, this is a semantic issue. I'm not saying that these guys move the needle. I'm saying that these moves imply a preference to go for guys who can play in round one. Obviously, the cost is related to how good they actually are.
Is that linked to the fact that they have these academy guys coming through and they already know that there's good enough youth coming through, so they're like, we can supplement that
Absolutely,
with
it is.
youngish players that can still offer us something on field now?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of built into that as well, which segues into, is it a good idea for them to offload Curnow? Because I think it is.
It can be a win-win either way, I reckon, for them.
Yeah, it depends if they want to stay finals relevant. And I'd say that these moves are implying a preference to do that, to be honest. And as you say, it kind of helps that they've got a foot in both camps because they're getting Harry Dean, they'll get Cody Walker, and they'll get Jack Ison. I don't know if there's any other players on the cards there. And I think they're
the only top level ones anyway.
I do think they're in a position, if they have 10 and 11 as a result of the Curnow deal with Sydney, that they could move up into Richmond's pick 4. I really do think that's a good idea based on everything I've read. That seems to align with what every club wants there.
Yep.
Unless you don't want to trade Curnow. So there is also a possibility they add a CDT. I suppose let's put it to you as the draft man. If Carlton hold Richmond's pick 4, who do you think would be the talent that best aligns with them?
Oh, that's a good question without notice.
Yeah.
I definitely think they could still be looking at a player like Sullivan Roby.
Sure.
Because I think if you look to their future midfield, which is Jagger Smith, really fast feet, good stoppage player, one of the most exciting talents in the country last year. So he's a really good player there that's sitting there on a knee injury right now.
True.
Cody Walker, that probably really nicely developed, a bit taller player, probably reminds me of someone like a Noah Anderson, who's like fairly inside outside. You'd be wanting that kind of centre forward mid, wouldn't you? So Sullivan Roby, I think, kind of jumps off the page with one of those.
Will he be
high
available
picks.
at pick 10, do you think?
Pick 10.
That's their first pick.
Well,
because that's going to get traded. So
they're going to trade that.
They trade it up.
Trade for...
Pick 4.
Yep. This would be to get ahead of the Harry Dean bid,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah, pick 10 will definitely not be held by Carlton.
How will they get up to pick 4?
By pairing 10 and 11.
And
I said this 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, where do they get 11, sorry?
From Curnow. The
Okay,
deal.
right,
Yeah.
So Sullivan Roby would definitely be in the mix. I don't think they'd really be looking at any of the tolls given what they already have. And they drafted Harry O'Farrell last year. They got Dean coming through. So I don't think they'd be looking at like a Taylor.
That's right, yeah.
I don't think they'd be looking at players like Greaves and Sharp as much, given their age profile. They don't really need that leader in a Sharp in the same way that I think, say, West Coast do. So I think Roby or Duff Tyler would be the two. And Duff Tyler would be that exact replacement for TDK. It's just like a swap for swap, basically.
Yeah, there'd be some need for a ruck Pitney's now the number 1 ruck. I'm not sure off the top of my head who is there.
Reedy.
Oh, yeah, shit. True. Yeah,
for
that's
him.
a good point. Yeah, so you'd probably want to... There's certainly an appetite there to go more high end. It's just whether or not in an unusually or somewhat rare opportunity to get into the top 5. I say rare. They're going to have Cody Walker and they just took Jagger Smith, but still in the top 5, do you take that risk? Do you go for someone a little bit more odds on to become what you expect? I don't know. That's just my view. But I think Cooper Duff Tyler could make sense, and I think you justified him or Roby pretty well.
Billy75 Chook says, Cody Walker is in my class. I told him picking Carlton instead of Richmond is a stupid move. Yes.
Let's talk about the players in their prime at Carlton. I've isolated some players. I've isolated by young talent, prime, and over 30. Patrick Cripps could either be in his prime, but he's also over 30. It depends on your viewpoint because, Bontempelli's the same age and Cripps, probably wasn't at Brownlow level this year, but I feel awkward just saying, oh, he's past it. You know what I mean? So he probably sits in both camps.
Yeah.
But in their prime, by like literal age, Sam Walsh, Jacob Wiedering, Harry Mackay, Adam Chera, Brodie Kemp, Bane Ainsworth, and Lewis Young. And I don't remember exactly where I divided the ages, but probably somewhere between 24 and 29. That group there is not particularly strong, is it? Jacob Wiedering is a star.
Wait, say that again.
Walsh,
Wiedering, and Mackay. So those guys are as key pillars, like there's at least some potential at their best to be good.
I actually disagree. I actually think that group of players is strong.
They're good, but outside of that is what Jesse's saying, like Cherry, Kemp, Ainsworth.
Yeah. Well, look, there's nothing wrong with the top three players that I mentioned there, but does that best 6 or 7 in their prime compare favourably to some of the other teams that finished in the top 8 this year?
No.
I like without, we don't have it in front of us, but this is where I think there's probably is a weak point. And they're probably going to, look at the players over 30. You got Cripps, Pittenay, Newman, Sard, Haynes, Hewitt, Akers, Williams, and McGovern. They don't rely so heavily on a lot of those. But, even Pittenay, we just mentioned there, he's over 30. Newman and Hewitt.
They do rely on, well, Cripps will keep going, but I think Nick Newman's one of their most important players. He missed a full season this year.
Yeah.
Sard, sort of, I don't know, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Nick Haynes came in and, was a very sort of turbulent season for him. George Hewitt being F. So they do rely on these guys. I think Blake Akers as well is a pretty important piece for them structurally on the outside. And then, Mitch McGovern and Zach Williams have just been in and out of the side with injury their entire time at Carlton. So
I guess what I'm saying is I think the players in their prime there, notably Walsh, Wiedering, Mackay, and, potentially Ainsworth, but like there's a decent gap there in terms of total potential, I would have thought, but need to come from, that needs to be supported by the top group there, and that includes Jagger Smith and Ollie Hollins, Campbell Chesser, Jesse Motlop, Harry Dean, Jack Ison, the Campriolis, and Harry O'Farrell. Is there enough in that young group yet?
No one just jumps off the page, do they? Other than Jagger Smith is a...
I think the question here is, can they push for a flag with Jagger Smith getting drip fed into the side with what they've already got?
Yeah.
Or is their next midfield that wins a premiership Jagger Smith, Cody Walker, and whoever they draft this year? Because if that's the answer, then get rid of Curnow now.
Yeah, that's right.
True.
Well,
feel bad for Cripper.
Jagger Smith would probably need to emulate Will Ashcroft.
Yeah.
To be able to really bridge that gap. And then lots of other factors like Carlton having a clean injury run could actually probably see potential finals push. But
I'm pretty confident that Jagger Smith hits the ground running in the AFL.
Yeah.
Just from what he was doing. The knee is a bit of a curveball in that, obviously, because how long he takes to recover from that. But what he was doing at junior level was incredible. Did I say something?
You did.
No,
I just read the comment.
There's a second comment. Someone saying that I sound sick. Does old mate have a permanent cold? Does Umbro stand for sick? I'm a sick dude, but I'm not unwell.
I feel like everyone's kind of got that a bit just crispy voice going on today. I just can't clear mine.
Yeah.
But no, I'm well. Thank you for asking about my well-being. Overall, tie a ribbon on it. What do you see for Carlton over the next little bit? And I suppose a lot of it's going to depend on what they do with Charlie Curnow.
I think it kind of makes sense them going for the established players when you consider the father-son and academy situation they got over the next 2. I also probably, in summary, also think it's probably a strong idea not to embark on a lengthy rebuild right as Tasmania's right around the corner. So I think there's a little bit of try to reinvigorate the side. Obviously, speed has been a factor or an element of their recruiting drive. Campbell Chesser is incredibly fast. He may not be a very good player at the moment, but he's a very fast player. There's a trend there. Try to reinvigorate that side, get the young talent in, and they're going to probably have to hope that these guys come on pretty quickly if they're going to be serious about a push, while Cripps, Mackay in particular are there.
I worry about those pickups when they have an issue that's really specific, we need speed, and then you just draft players that are fast. Recruit players that are fast. It screams of a little bit of desperation. Ultimately, I think Carlton are with their playing squad at least, they're in a reasonable position because all of the compromise picks that they're going to get, like Walker and Ison and Dean. So they're going to be in a decent position with their list. The question is going to be, though, and pretty much persist with them, is everything actually working behind the scenes, the things that we don't know about?
Yeah.
Because that's the things that have just continued to fall over for them.
Well, they changed with their president. They've got rid of their assistants, their high performance coach in the last 18 months. So probably suggests that it's not all good behind the scenes. But hopefully for their fans,
but the change might be good.
Yeah.
Michael G says Cripps, Walsh, Chera, Hewitt, and Smith could be one of the better mid groups in the AFL.
That is such a dated opinion. That is like a 2023 opinion.
Cripps, Walsh, Chera,
BNF Hewitt, Jagger Smith, one of the better mid groups in the AFL. I could reel off 4 better midfields right now.
The problem with that group of players, and even adding Smith into this as well, like they are a great midfield from a stoppage perspective, but you're not going to get a ton out of that midfield on the transition.
Yeah.
So you're still lacking something. It needs to be more balanced.
Good players in isolation, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Definitely. I might have to wrap this stream up actually.
Yeah.
We've got to head off fairly soon.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
could probably
We'll
push
keep
it out
time.
like another 10 or so, but how
it's
do you think we're travelling?
I'm
If
easy
you guys
either
want to
way.
head off, we can,
Yeah,
we can
no,
wrap it
it's
up. That's
completely
fine.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've got a few more in the chat here. I'm just having a look. Your mission says Carlton's average age was the 5th oldest, with the older ones in Collingwood, Geelong, Brisbane and Sydney, all recent flag contenders.
Yeah. Well, that's the hardest thing about Carlton. Their fans are so desperate for success and their window was only open for 2 years and then it shut again. Like, that's what I sort of joked about it last week, like when Carlton won that flag that didn't exist because their fans were so high. It was all flaggers. It was just like they were guaranteed a flag with the list that they had. And then it all just fell to shit.
I'm
Yeah.
seeing parallels.
With who?
Nothing. I'm sorry, I support West Coast.
I don't get the reference.
I was thinking of the Collingwood to win this year.
Skits.
Oh, we're
Fitz.
going to win the yeah. Well,
Oh, I
flag
thought
match
you
was
were
just a
talking about
meme, isn't it?
Freo.
Yeah, I know. I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, flag match was just a meme though, but at least we have a younger list that can, compete for longer.
Skits Fitz
true.
says Carlton need to trade their supporters first before that rebuild.
Yeah, they are the worst. Do you have any other fan base in the AFL that you like less than Carlton's?
That's a good question.
You know what? I hope that I'm like I don't want to offend anyone who's a good fan like
Of
in
course,
the
there's
chat.
good fans.
Yeah. But I feel like as a group, the Richmond Football
I was
Club,
about to say Richmond.
far out. And I
Oh.
actually remember the reason I stopped liking Richmond when they got good was because of their fans. And I suppose you and I made some draft content last year.
Yeah.
And I just, generally, I like Collingwood fans I haven't had a big issue with, but I've noticed how much hate I get for not saying that they're going to be bad, but for saying they won't win the flag. The most vicious comments are from Collingwood fans when you suggest that on average, especially Rogie.
I reckon this year, Richmond's like their kind of push point was Nick Vlaston.
Yeah,
They were just relentless about that, weren't they? Like if Nick Vlaston, he didn't even win their fucking best and fairest.
Who
But
did?
the club didn't even rate him.
Yeah, who did?
It was Taranto,
Oh, it was too.
which is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
That is
right.
It should have been Vlaston, but just interesting.
I've never had anything against Richmond fans.
Pat Kaz makes a good point. As a Richmond fan, it feels good to be hated. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, West Coast fans are hated. Absolutely.
You're just not relevant at the moment, so you're just not there.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. But it's just, historically, yeah. I mean, I think West Coast fans are probably keeping to themselves more than ever
Oh, exactly.
at the moment. Yeah.
We're not even relevant when we're good. so
West Coast weirdly are relevant. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I live with you that I just hear everything. But like with like the Harley Reid stuff, draft.
Oh, yeah,
yada,
Harley
yada,
Reid.
yada.
you're just a
draft.
Freo fan, though. Surely,
Yeah,
surely that just
yeah.
bleeds in.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I think Fremantle get it like talked about a lot, but I follow the West Australian on Facebook, so like I think we just
Yeah,
both
we just-
kind of permeate each other's.
That's true.
Michael
but
G
West
ma-
Coast also get views and clicks, to be honest.
Michael G makes a good point. Hawthorn fan base, quite terrible.
Oh yeah, Hawthorn's fans are just
Yeah.
they're just entitled because they've been so successful.
Yes, they haven't because they haven't been draft relevant in my content. They haven't migrated much, but I think like overall, I've had like being at football games when I was younger and stuff. Had some like terrible examples of that with Hawks fans. Who would you rank just top 3 worst fan bases? Who would you go?
Carlton, West Coast, Port Adelaide.
So no Richmond for you.
Nah, I got nothing against
Port
Richmond.
Adelaide.
Is Port Adelaide just sort of the?
They're just a bit feral.
Okay.
They're just like the Collingwood of Adelaide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I don't mind their fans though. Like, I don't
Yeah.
reckon being feral actually puts them down for me.
You can just tell with their atmosphere. There's just a bit of mongrel about that fan base. They're just
But is that bad?
yeah. Well, well, it depends what you mean by worse. Like in terms of less passionate, or what's the metric here?
I guess it's like that's a good point actually. Like we do need to.
I'm going off just like fan bases that I do not like.
I feel like like the Richmond one really resonated for me because like almost there's like a bit of entitlement. It kind of starts with.
Yeah.
There's a like irrationality to them when they're talking about things that they deserve and should get, which is fine. This is fine. It's football fandom. I'm not having a go at anyone.
Yeah.
This is like
100%.
relative to the competition.
So yeah, my metric is fan bases that I do not like the most. Yeah. So it's not like who's the most passionate or this or that. Like
Yeah. So your mission just says surely Adelaide fan bases this year have lowered their colours tremendously. I'm not really basing it on that though. Like the
like the booing and stuff like that.
yeah. I'm more doing it from a like fans getting into the comments and just being like, why didn't we get this guy? Or
Jesse and Dylan are salty because of our rebuild. No, I would say I didn't like Richmond fans because of all the shit we copped.
yeah,
Like that's actually where it comes from. Also, like Richmond's been like 1 year into a rebuild.
yeah.
Like it's a bit early to be
Well,
start like
Don't
bragging.
put yourself in our shoes.
yeah. So I would say that's not it. I would say
so. What are your top threes?
Richmond,
I don't-
Hawthorn.
I couldn't name a second or third club, to be honest. I would say Richmond just came to mind. I couldn't give a shit less.
Freo?
I couldn't give a shit. Like they're all irrelevant to me.
Sydney,
mean Freo are irrelevant to you?
Sydney aren't great.
Sydney.
I don't think about Fremantle at all.
What do you mean? Come on now, you're talking shit.
What?
You're talking shit.
I mean, I live with you and we talk about Fremantle. So, but until then, I didn't at all.
Well, up until me, just
Yeah, well, obviously with you, if you live with a fan, and I'm sure like if I lived with Dylan, we'd be talking more of North Melbourne. But I didn't think about
I reckon
Fremantle
just
at
like
all.
being like even as like an Adelaide club, like Port Adelaide makes Adelaide, Adelaide makes Port. You know what I mean? It's just like the yin and yang of rivalry.
I feel like you talk that into existence.
No,
more
but
than
it
it's really
is.
a thing
It's a
for the
rivalry.
average fan.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course
it
it is.
exists, but it's not like Premier League rivalry. It's just,
No, it's not Premier League, but it's
nah,
still a rivalry.
I only think about Fremantle when we play them.
That's weird.
Honestly, yeah.
Freo fans might get annoying if they ever win a flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of think of my relationship with like the audience and like there's plenty of decent Fremantle fans.
Yeah, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah, agree.
Wait, I just did a list and didn't have Carlton in it. They have to be in it. So Richmond, Hawthorn,
I don't
Carlton.
feel like I get a lot of Carlton audience. I could be wrong, but I feel like they spend their time on like Blue Abroad. So,
Yeah, for sure.
And strangely, like Cats fans, I don't feel like I hear from a lot.
Cats fans, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not draft relevant for me, so I don't see them a lot.
Dogs and Adelaide fans don't like me because there's been a period of time where they felt like I've underrated them. So like I just can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't win.
So if you can't name three, which fan bases do you think you get the most stick from?
Yeah, I'd say Collingwood fans probably not often, but when it happens, it's like, oh my God. Like I usually find Collingwood comments by going to the filtered hidden comments because of like slurs, you know. And Richmond, look, maybe Fremantle on True Eagle when there's like a preseason derby or something like that. Maybe, but I just kind of tune those out, to be
I
honest.
love how Freo's just in the chat. Freo fans just copying it now. Like no one cares about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do cop that a lot.
Yeah.
Cats fans copying it now, actually. That's probably fair, just with some of that. And they got fined during the week. We didn't actually touch on that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
$70,000.
Yeah.
Is that a lot?
No.
No, it's
That's a
Yeah.
weird
No,
slap on the
yeah,
wrist for
it's-
something that's potentially serious, but we'll probably
it's
never know
weird.
exactly what it was.
yeah. They've had a bit of a stinky time ever since halftime of the grand final. The Cats, haven't they?
Really stinky.
Mad Monday got shut,
Yeah.
got blown to bits. Baz Smith posting a photo with Max Home dressed as Caroline Wilson with an emoji that was suggestive.
Oh, I
Did
didn't
you
even
see
see the
that?
emoji.
Yeah, it was like
Oh, it was- Was it like an eggplant?
no, it was the drips and the cum face.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
on that note.
Anyway, let's wrap this stream up. We've got places to be, things to
Seems
do.
like a good
Thank you
place to
guys
finish.
for tuning in and watching another episode of Footy from the Flat. We are going to be back potentially on Wednesday, maybe just Saturday next week. We've
Yeah.
been talking a few things over, but we'll let you know on social media. We'll see you in the next episode.
And thank you once again for the donations.
Yeah,
Very much
go free
appreciated.
out.
Yes.
We'll finish on that.
This is in case it's still going.
Yep.